Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 341-360. Chapter 0341 _ Beast Thunder. What is the world this? The pirates are not over yet. Before the end, they will naturally write about what new world the space-time fish has found. The reason why I mention finding a new world now is to avoid being abrupt. Go and find a new world. Controlling the time-space fish into the time-space turbulence, Chin Yong has a ray of mind and always pays attention. Finding a new world is not something that can be accomplished in a short period of time, so Chin Yong is not in a hurry. Moreover, even if he finds a new world, he will make Pirate World a big rear. There are many mysterious powers in this world, and he needs a few subordinates to collect them for him. Of course, the existence of the world government is too much of a hindrance. Sooner or later, they will have to be eliminated, and a dream will form an institution to rule the world. However, ruling the world is not the purpose. The purpose is to facilitate the collection of mysterious power. Destroy the world government. Don't rush, just follow the steps and let the revolutionary army go to the front. Chin Yong sent away the space-time fish, and immediately asked the shadow demon to collect all the devil fruits into the shadow world. First of all, let's take a look at the situation in the past 9 years. Time flies. 7 days later. In the past few days, Chin Yong has learned about the changes in the past 9 years through Doflamingo. From the beginning of the Sabayati Archipelago War, in that war, dozens of great forces perished, and it can be said that it affected the whole world. One of the 4 emperor pirates disappeared, 5 kings of the world's most powerful countries died, Marine lost the commander-in-chief of the entire army, 3 of the 10 major families perished, and the rest were numerous. It can be said that the battle directly killed countless people. Ambition goes out. The whole world is shrouded in shadows of dreams. However, over time, the dream fades away, and the world eventually becomes a mess. This chaos continues to this day, especially the revolutionary army and the world government. There was a war a few years ago. The result of that war was that the world government won, but the impact was far-reaching. The most obvious point was the departure of Marine Admiral Kuzan. It's so boring. The world would be so boring without our dreams. Chin Yong shook his head and stood on the top floor of the church-like building, overlooking the whole of Mysteria. The country on this island has been infiltrated and controlled by Doflamingo. It can be said that this island is the actual control area of the dream. Of course, Dream also controls an island, the Island of the Undead, currently floating at an altitude of 7,000 meters. On the island, the research on artificial zone devil fruit has been basically completed and is in the stage of preparing for mass production. It took more time than expected, but the results are always good. Speaking of which, Whitebeard still owes me 50 fruits, Charlotte Linlin also owes me 50, the dragon owes me 15, and the saint from a certain country in Sky Island owes me 75 he. Chin Yong couldn't help but laugh. It's time to ask for debts. In 9 years, they should be ready. But it's a question of who gets the debt. The identity of Emperor Chin is definitely not suitable. If a dominant cadre appears, it will definitely cause a sensation immediately. Chin Yong does not want to openly announce the return of the dream, for the time being, but for ordinary cadres, the combat power is not enough, and the shadow demon is a good one. Candidate. Forget it, start a new transformation. If the new transformation is not powerful enough, let the shadow demon go. Originally had 280 fruits, 22 were consumed, and 8 were left. Q. A mere new phantom body, not worth mentioning. Immediately, Chin Yong took out 10 fruits from the shadow world and absorbed them in one go. As the main body illusion reaches 4 stars, the consumption of starting a new transformation has also increased. It must be more than 7 pieces, but Chin Yong has a lot of money and decisively consumes 10 pieces. Immediately, the 10 fruits turned into ashes, the mysterious power was swallowed up by the genes, and the changes occurred immediately. In an instant, the electric light flickered. The dazzling golden electric light suddenly exploded. As if thunder fell from the sky, the bombardment was here, and the crackling sound continued to sound. The whole of Mysteria can see the movement here. At this moment, countless people raised their heads and stared at this sight in surprise. After more than 10 seconds, all the thunder light gradually dissipated, and Qin Yang's body had changed from a human form to a four-legged tiger-shaped creature. This creature is golden in color, with soft, black stripes and a white belly. He has a light blue tail that is sharp and sparkling. It has dark purple thunderclouds on its back, thick white hair on its face, and a very mighty appearance. This is the new transformation. Qin Yang looked at himself and was very surprised. Is this a Pokemon? The 14th change, Lei Gong. Star rating. Ability 1, Longitudinal Thunder. Ability 2, Speed. Ability 3, Reflective Film. Ability 4, Unlocked. Ability 5, Unlocked. Sure enough, it's the second-level Divine Beast of Pokemon, Raikou. Qin Yang muttered to himself while feeling the ability of the new transformation. In general, it is very strong, but it is not as strong as the level of Reaper Blue Ran, which should be similar to the Samsung Sea Dragon. Someone's here. In the perception, Qin Yang could clearly detect someone approaching. The divine beast Lei Gong had a strong grasp of the breath, and could even hear the heartbeats of countless people. Thinking of this, Qin Yang opened his 4 feet, jumped, and quickly escaped. God fast. Whoosh. In an instant, Lei Gong's 4 feet flashed, and the whole person quickly turned into a golden thunderlight and quickly left. In the blink of an eye, it has already crossed thousands of meters and quickly disappeared on the roof. By the time the visitor walked up to the roof, the place was already empty. What happened just now? The man scratched his head. Let's report to Lord Doflamingo. Not to mention the situation here. Qin Yang ran all the way, and most people couldn't see the specific situation at all. They could only see a flash of lightning, and then they couldn't even see the back. It's so fast. Although it's not as fast as the Archangel's supersonic flight, on land, it shouldn't be faster than this. In an instant, Qin Yang had already run out of Mysteria and was running on the sea. Every time he took a step, a string of electric light flowed from the sea, and Lei Gong rushed out 100 meters. From a distance, it looks like a thunderbolt close to the sea, rushing straight ahead. After running for half an hour, Qin Yang's speed finally began to drop. Although the speed is fast, the staying power is so-so, but the instantaneous explosive power can be a little faster. Thinking so, Qin Yang suddenly saw a pirate ship ahead. Without any hesitation at the moment, he rushed over in one breath. Captain! A pirate shouted in the observation room of the pirate ship. A tiger is rushing over. Tiger! Below, a female pirate rolled her eyes. What are you kidding? This is the sea. No, I didn't lie to you. It's really a tiger. No, it's not a tiger, it's a thunder beast, it's here. As soon as the pirate's voice fell, there was a rumbling sound, and a thunderlight hit the deck, causing everyone to disperse in shock. After a while, the thunderlight dissipated, and everyone stared at each other with their mouths wide open. You what kind of creature are you? The female captain said with a dull expression, but after she finished speaking, she patted her forehead again. I was so frightened that I even talked to a thunder tiger. Qin Yang looked at the other party with a calm expression on his face, spitting out human words. What pirate group are you? Speak, speak. The female captain's eyes widened, but she quickly reacted. You are a capable person. I am a subordinate of the Beastmaster Pirates, a subordinate of the 4 Emperor Ryan's Pirates, and the captain of the Werewolf. Chapter 0342-Rebel Blackbeard. Beastmaster Pirates. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, his eyes fixed on the female captain. Judging from the breath, this person is not very strong, but the female captain is a relatively rare creature, and she is also a subordinate of the 4 Emperor Pirates, which is even rarer. Seeing Qin Yang staring at her, the female captain immediately opened her mouth and asked curiously, Who are you? The talking tiger. Did the human eat the zone fruit, or did the tiger eat the human fruit? No, "No, you still with the power of thunder and lightning, what is going on?" She kept guessing, but rejected them one by one. "I am the divine beast Lei Gong, who is in charge of the thunder in the world." Qin Yang said casually, "I just happened to meet you this time, so quickly bring out the wine to entertain." "Captain, this tiger is so arrogant." The pirate in the lookout room jumped down and muttered, "Would you like to catch it and give it to Lord Ryan?" Hearing this, the female captain glared at him, then put on a smile, looked at Qin Yang and said, "Go prepare food. I want to entertain Lei Gong." "Lei Gong, our werewolf has always been hospitable. Since we meet at sea, then make a friend." Make friends. Conspiracy. Qin Yang thought about it in his heart, but he was fearless on his face, and said bluntly, "What kind of person is the Emperor Ryan in your mouth?" "Lord Ryan." The female captain thought for a while and said, "I haven't seen it before. Usually, the vice captain gives orders. This time, we were also ordered by the vice captain to go to the Big Mom waters and follow the other 4 emperors. Convey the message." Quote. This made Qin Yang curious. What role is this Ryan? Even the pirate captain under his command has never seen him. Of course, it is not ruled out that this woman is lying, but it should not be. Qin Yang still has the ability to distinguish between true and false. "You go to Big Mom, and I happen to be on the way, so take me for a ride." Qin Yang said, "However, I am very curious about your Beastmaster pirates, can you tell me about it?" "No problem." The female captain, Vivi Isho, said, "Lei Gong, do you want to join our Beastmaster fleet? You look very strong, and it matches our income standard very well. Win me over." Qin Yang smiled, "You tell Wei first what's going on with the Beastmaster pirates." Next, the female captain explained all the more basic news, and gave a general introduction to the situation of the Beastmaster pirates. 18 pirate groups under the Beastmaster Grand Fleet, and the werewolf is one of them. These 18 pirate groups are all awakened zone abilities. Among them, the lowest bounty is more than 300 million, and the highest one has even reached 800 million. The Beastmaster pirates themselves actually had a small number of people, less than 10 people, but this pirate group was rather special, or rather bellicose. Therefore, all of them were combatants and possessed extremely strong combat effectiveness. Especially the Beastmaster Ryan, it is said that he can be hard-headed Whitebeard and not weak. "How about you, do you want to join us?" After the female captain said, she sent out an invitation full of anticipation. In this regard, Qin Yang was noncommittal and asked again, "Why did you find Big Mom?" "I don't know, we just carry a sound shell and give it to Big Mom." Female captain shrugged helplessly, approached and said, "Actually, besides this mission, we have another mission. Not long ago, a big event happened to the Whitebeard pirates. The former members of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard pirates, Teach killed Thatch, captain of the 4th Division, and robbed a group of devil fruits, broke away from the Whitebeard pirates, declared independence, and established the Blackbeard pirates." Blackbeard, Qin Yang was stunned, and secretly said in his heart, "Is it historical inertia? He got the secret fruit." No, he robbed a batch of fruits. Could this batch of fruits be the dream that Whitebeard wants to give us? Thinking of this, Qin Yang's face darkened. Hybrid, a careerist, dared to pay attention to Dream's head. Immediately, Qin Yang had put this guy on the hunt list, equal to the saintess of a certain country. At this time, the female captain continued, "Our other task is to find Blackbeard and invite him to join the Beastmaster pirates." "Aren't you only inviting zone-capable people?" Qin Yang asked back. "No, that's what Kaido did in the previous generation." The female captain smiled and said, "Our Beastmaster pirates, of course, invited the strong to join. Kaido was shot to death by Emperor Qin of that year. If he had enough strong players around him, maybe he wouldn't have ended up like this." After a pause, he said with admiration, "However, the Qin Emperor was really strong back then, and the peak of the Super 4 Emperors existed. In her eyes, there is worship, longing, and admiration." Qin Yang rolled his eyes. He was not sure whether Kaido was dead or not, but this woman dared to say. Moment, he also casually echoed. Yes, yes, Emperor Qin is an enemy without enemies, an idol of my generation. New World, Chaos Sea, Meteor Islands. The 3 pirate groups in the chaotic seas of that year have all perished. Unicorn, Lance, Storm, the captains of these 3 pirate groups, one was locked in the deep-sea prison, the other participated in the Sabayati archipelago battle that year, and was shot into the bottom of the sea by Qin Yang, and the other was the luckiest. He is still alive, but he doesn't know where, but his sister is still in the hands of Doflamingo. Time flies, and now, 9 years later, there are no 3 pirate groups in the Chaos Sea, only one pirate group dominates the Meteor Islands. The name of the pirate group is the Gluttonous Pirates, and the captain is Heinel, one of the king's Shichibukai. At this moment, on the central island of the Meteorite archipelago, in the hall of a palace, Heinel wears a crown and sits on the throne. He is a sturdy middle-aged man with a prominent red mustache. If it weren't for the existence of red hair and white beard, he would have dared to take the title of Red Beard at the beginning. Heinel looked at the man in the center of the hall and said calmly, Marshal D. Teach, no, I should call you Blackbeard now. You really did an amazing thing. In killing after the captain of the 4th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, he actually came to me. What do you want to be a traitor? Ziahahaha. 2.1 is still the ugly face, showing a row of missing teeth when he smiles. Blackbeard stared at a pair of small round eyes, his eyes flickering fiercely. I am not a betrayal, I joined Whitebeard for the devil fruit. In the way, Whitebeard handed all the fruits to him for safekeeping, and even, that fruit, was in his hands, so I had to kill him. I'm not interested in listening to your nonsense, what are you doing to me? Heinel snorted coldly and said, if you talk nonsense again, I'll eat you in one bite. Ziahahaha Heinel, others don't know, but I know who you are. Blackbeard grinned Isho, stretched out his right hand, aren't you going to join forces with me? Guys like you, who won't be satisfied with a Shichibukai position, join forces with me. Now that the Dream Emperor Qin has disappeared, there is no better opportunity than this now. Isn't it? Noah D. Heinel. Chapter 0343_Newborn Big Mom Pirates. Qin Yang took a downwind boat and went to the Big Mom waters with the werewolf pirates. In the first few days, the pirates were quite wary of him, but it didn't take long for them to get acquainted with each other. Especially Qin Yang showed the ability to call thunder with one hand and one roar. The group of pirates immediately fell to the ground with his admired 5-body, and each and every Lei Gong shouted affectionately. Qin Yang was too lazy to pay attention to this group of people, silently accustomed to the ability of the new transformation. Samsung Thunder has 3 abilities. The first type of longitudinal thunder, to put it simply, is to control the power of thunder and lightning, and even provoke lightning strikes, which is somewhat similar to Guro Guro no Mi, Rumble Rumble Fruit. The second type of divine speed, is to release the power accumulated in the purple thundercloud on the back, stimulate and strengthen the body, and burst into a super speed in one breath. Third type of reflection film, is actually called reflection wall. Lei Gong can form a reflection wall in front of him to reflect physical attacks and elemental attacks. Even if the attack is too strong and cannot be reflected, he can weakness as a defensive ability. Generally speaking, the power of this phantom body is actually not as strong as that of a sea dragon. It is slightly weaker at 15, which is comparable to that of the Lich King. While Qin Yang was familiar with the new phantom body, time passed quickly, and 10 days passed in a blink of an eye. The werewolf finally entered the Big Mom waters. Captain Eve, we are already close to Cake Island, do you want to contact the Big Mom pirates first? A pirate stuck his head out of the observation room and asked. During this period of time, Qin Yang already knew the names of these people. The captain's name is Eve Torres. He is in the form of an Arctic wolf and has absolute cold resistance. He once fought against Admiral Kuzan and escaped easily. She is about 30 years old, but she looks like she is only 23 or 4, and she is dressed in hot clothes, just like now. She only wears a short skirt, a bikini on her upper body, and a silk scarf on her head. Being bold. Hearing the crew's shouts, Eve stepped onto the bow, looked at the sea area ahead, and said with a smile, "No, they have already found out that we have invaded. All the crew are ready for battle. In case of conflict, life is the most important thing." Hearing this, Chinyong Vivi raised his head, squinted his eyes and stared ahead. With his perception, he could barely detect that a pirate ship was approaching several miles away. "Your eyes are very good," Chinyong praised. "That's right, I have the sense of smell of a wolf. As long as I smell it once, I will never forget it in my life." It was the nose. Chinyong understood. Soon, the pirates on the entire ship gathered and made preparations for battle. 10 minutes later, the two pirate ships met head-on. On the opposite boat, a slender young man stepped out. He stood on the bow of the boat with a western sword in his hand, and pointed the sword at Chinyong and others. "The pirate group on the opposite side, please stop the boat," the man said loudly. "This is the Big Mom Sea area. We are the new Big Mom Pirates and I'm the captain of this patrol boat, Charlotte Keene. M is less than or equal to _ Charlotte Keene." Chinyong was startled. Isn't this the little boy who was caught by the nine-tailed demon fox? He also used this as a threat to blackmail Charlotte Linlin. Now 9 years, no, to be precise, after 10 years, he has turned into a beautiful man, which is incredible. The side, Eve chuckled and said, "Charlotte Keene, I am the captain of the Werewolf of the Beastmaster Pirates, Eve Torres, under the order of the deputy captain, come to meet the 4 emperors Charlotte Linlin." Captain of the Werewolf. On the patrol boat, Charlotte Keene was taken aback. "You're the little she-wolf from the Beastmaster Pirates." This person is relatively well-known, mainly female, and is an Arctic wolf capable, dubbed by the rest of the forces as the little she-wolf. However, when Eve heard this, her brows flashed with anger. "Charlotte family brat, you should hurry up and inform your cadres." "Who are you calling a brat?" Charlotte Keene was furious, but thinking of the opponent's combat power, he still resolutely confessed. "Come with me and keep a following distance of more than 1,000 meters." Immediately, he ordered his men to turn the bow down and lead the way ahead. Seeing this, the werewolf immediately followed. "HMPH, don't let me meet anywhere else," Eve snorted and said angrily, "or else I'll clean up you." Chinyong shook his head and glanced at her contemptuously. "What are you going to say?" Eve said resentfully. "If it were me, I would have slapped it with one slap." Chinyong chuckled lightly. "What kind of 4 emperor pirates? I don't like it, and I slap it to death." "You are amazing." Eve was speechless for a while. The 4 emperors are the 4 top forces in the New World. Although there are constant conflicts with each other, no one can do anything about the other. "Do you think you are Emperor Qin?" "To be honest, I am actually Emperor Qin." Chinyong smiled and joked. "I believe you have a ghost. What kind of character is Emperor Qin?" "That is an invincible existence that suppressed an era. You Thunder Tiger, although you have some skills, is a few dimensions away from Emperor Qin." Eve rolled her eyes and turned to command her subordinates. "No one believes the truth." Chinyong shook his head, let out a breath, and continued to close his eyes. Of course, part of his perception has been released, firmly locking the patrol boat leading the way. Big Mom can regain the position of the 4 emperors. To be honest, he doesn't really believe it, just relying on the Charlotte family who was crippled by him. How can he and how can it be? It is estimated that there should be other forces behind Charlotte Linlin. 9 times out of 10, it is a relationship like marriage. It's called the newborn Big Mom Pirates, but I want to see, what is the new way? There was no words all the way. After 023 hours, the 2 ships arrived at the port of Cake Island one after another. 9 years have passed, and the Cake Island that was originally full of frozen cakes has been restored to its original appearance today. The aroma of desserts is everywhere, and even some buildings are in the shape of desserts, even. This dessert building can be eaten directly. Chin-Yong followed Eve into Cake Island. Charlotte Keene thought he was a beast raised by the werewolf pirates, so he didn't say much. In this regard, Chin-Yong was very happy. Soon, the group entered the base camp of the Charlotte family. In a magnificent palace, Chin-Yong saw Charlotte Linlin on the high seat. Compared with 9 years ago, Charlotte Linlin has not changed much. The only noticeable change is the eyes. Charlotte Linlin's right eye, wearing a skull patch, is apparently blind. Huh. Chin-Yong snorted and said curiously, interesting. Who could knock you out in one eye? His sudden speech made the members of both sides stunned. The next moment, beside Charlotte Linlin, a woman in court attire scolded her fiercely. Presumptuous! How dare you speak rudely to your mother? In response, Chin-Yong pouted and roared. Roar! In an instant, a ferocity of mythical beasts pressed towards the opponent. Go away, mere humans, how dare you shout in front of me? Chapter 0344-Thunder Master. Go away, mere humans, how dare you shout in front of me? Chin-Yong let out a loud roar, and the pressure of the divine beast instantly shrouded him away. In an instant, the woman in the palace attire turned pale, and a trace of fear flashed in her eyes. In her field of vision, Lei Gong's figure has become extremely huge, so huge that the opponent only needs to lift his paw to kill her. You! The woman stared at Chin-Yong and took a half step back subconsciously. She was so frightened that she didn't dare to say another word. At this time, the rest of the talents reacted one by one, looking at Chin-Yong with a bad look. Charlotte Linlin raised her hand and said, when did Ryan, that bastard, keep such a beast? This, Eve glanced at Chin-Yong, opened her mouth, and considered how to explain it. However, before she could speak, Chin-Yong spoke first. Charlotte Linlin, pay attention to your words. I am not a beast, but a divine beast. How dare you call your mother by her name? A member of the Big Mom Pirates couldn't help glaring. Wait. Charlotte Linlin frowned deeply, her only one eye staring suspiciously. The tone and way of speaking is very similar to a certain group of murderers in memory, but that group of murderers has disappeared for 9 years, and it is impossible to reappear. A talking tiger who calls himself a divine beast, interesting. She grinned, but turned to Eve. What's your purpose here? 4 Emperors Charlotte Linlin, are werewolf pirates, under the order of the vice captain, hand over this sound shell to you. Eve quietly wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, reached out and took out a piece of yinbei, handed it over, and immediately glared at Chin-Yong. She was taken aback. This tiger is not clear. What does the 4 emperors mean? Yinbei. Charlotte Linlin took a white sound shell from her subordinate, pressed the button, and put it to her ear to listen. The sound of yinbei is very light, which is not the same as ordinary soundbei, and will be automatically amplified. Charlotte Linlin's expression also changed, from surprise at first, to anger gradually. Suddenly, bang! Yinbei exploded with a bang, causing the hearts of everyone in the hall to jump. Everyone was dumbfounded, and all the werewolf pirates, including Eve, fell into sluggishness. Only Chin-Yong was stunned for a moment, and then he couldn't help but laugh. The deputy captain of the Beastmaster Pirates can play, and even set the sound shell to automatically explode after one play. Mom. Mother is fine. Charlotte Linlin's face was gloomy, her eyes were full of murderous intent, and she stared at Eve firmly. Very good. Ryan's gift is a success for Mrs. Rahuo. Don't even want to leave. After listening to Yinbei's recording first, Charlotte was already furious. She didn't expect that the people of the Beastmaster Pirates would be so bored, and her hand exploded automatically, which had no effect other than embarrassing her. That being the case, Charlotte Linlin naturally murdered. You guys, give your soul to the old lady. A loud roar, Charlotte Linlin stretched out her right palm. At such a long distance, of course, this palm could not fall on Eve, but after the palm was caught, a dark soul material suddenly manifested and grabbed it directly from the air. Seeing this, Eve's heart froze, and she didn't understand at all what the vice captain was going to do to make such a thing happen. If it was just to make fun of Big Mom, then the werewolf pirates were treated as cannon fodder. It's over, annoyed one of the 4 emperors, and it's still in the other party's base camp. Eve's thoughts turned, and the whole person immediately began to change in shape. Her hair instantly turned white, and at the same time, hair appeared on her face, her claws became sharp, and her entire human posture quickly changed from a human form to a werewolf form. Big Mom is a soul fruit person, can't be wiped by attacks, otherwise the soul will be captured. Eve made a decisive decision and quickly retreated, while shouting, "Run!" Several subordinates reacted in unison, and quickly turned to flee. However, at the gate, under the ground, soul incarnations emerged one after another. Different from the incarnations of souls in the past, these incarnations of souls have different shapes and are completely dark, as if they are real people, not pure incarnations. Soul. Eve looked horrified, and before she could call out her birth, she was surrounded by a group of soul incarnations. In just a few seconds, several members of the werewolf pirates were arrested. In front of the furious 4 emperor-level powerhouses, even the others did not hold back for a round. He Ryan dares to do such a thing, I will make your souls into delicious cakes and send them to him. Charlotte Linlin didn't look good. She got up from the seat and walked towards several people. I didn't expect that you, a person who died once, has grown in fruit ability. Chin Yang suddenly opened his mouth and looked at Big Mom playfully. Charlotte Linlin stopped abruptly and swept towards Chin Yang. Who the hell are you? You are by no means a member of the Beastmaster Pirates, there is no such role as you in the intelligence. He. What are you laughing at? There are no tigers in the mountains, but the monkeys are kings. Chin Yang stood on all fours, lightning flashed all over his body, crackling electric light was released, and the power of overbearing lightning could attack hundreds of times in an instant. Hundreds of lightning bolts were fired in unison, sweeping towards Eve and the others. Charlotte Linlin's more than a dozen soul incarnations were hit, and they were smashed to ashes in an instant. These people barely gave me a ride, and now I will save them once. Chin Yang said calmly, Charlotte Linlin, you are not only blind, but also your brain is broken. I came to you this time, just want to ask you, are you ready for the 50-fruit apology? Apologize. In the hall, most of the people were full of doubts. Only a small number of people who knew what happened back then suddenly changed their color when they heard this sentence. No, probably. Charlotte Linlin froze, stared at Chin Yang with wide eyes. You are. I am the god beast Raiko, the dream pirates, and the lightning lord. As soon as the voice fell, in an instant, a thick layer of black clouds appeared over the Cake Island. This dark cloud appeared extremely quickly and suddenly, and its thickness was even more terrifying. The electric light inside it swam away, and the thunder dragon shone. Lightning. Along with Chin Yang's whisper, there was a loud bang, and a thunderous lightning as thick as a giant tree suddenly descended from a height of several thousand meters. You are the master of dreams. Charlotte Linlin said in disbelief. However, before she could finish her words, the lightning bolt had already crossed a distance of several thousand meters and slammed onto the hull. Boom! With a loud explosion, the manic power of thunder and lightning raged, and in an instant, the entire hull was wiped out by lightning and razed to the ground. Looking from a distance, at the center of Cake Island, a mighty building was swallowed by golden thunder, and the dazzling golden light, like a golden sun, smashed into the center of the island. Amidst the thunder and lightning, Chin Yang's eyes were like water, watching everything calmly. This is a lesson. I'll give you 1 year. If you fail to deliver over time, you will be punished. If you can't get it out now, I think it's more appropriate for your new Big Mom pirates to perish. Chapter 0345_Shadows that cover the world. Boom. In the huge explosion sound, a golden thunder, like a small sun, smashed into the center of the Cake Island, smashing the base camp of the new Big Mom pirates into smithereens. After a long time, the manic power of thunder and lightning gradually dissipated, and Qin Yang stood in the ruins, staring at the front. Cough cough. With the sound of coughing, Eve pushed away a stone on her body and slowly got up from the ruins. She saw the scene in front of her at a glance, and her pupils shrank immediately. The splendid hall disappeared, and in its place, there were people everywhere. You were the master of dreams. Eve's eyes widened, looking at Qin Yang in disbelief. This thunder tiger, who took the downwind boat, turned out to be the master. Qin Yang ignored it and stared ahead. There, Charlotte Linlin, scorched black, her hair standing on end, looked over with fire-breathing eyes. However, in the anger, there is an indelible fear. Dream. She stared at Qin Yang, gritted her teeth. How could they reappear after they disappeared for 9 years? In the past 9 years, there have been many people pretending to be dreams, but most of them are unbelievable. If the trouble is a little bigger, there is naturally the number 1 dog in dreams, and Doflamingo will solve it. Charlotte Linlin admits the Thunder Tiger is strong, but won't believe it. Dream Master, each of them is equivalent to the 4 emperors. It is surprising that this Thunder Tiger can control thunder and lightning, but it is a little worse than 243 Ocean Master and Sky Master. He. Qin Yang chuckled and said, Charlotte Linlin, your eyes are really blind. You can't believe what your eyes see, but choose to deceive yourself. It's really shameful for the 4 emperors to get involved with you. Hearing this, Charlotte Linlin's face is ugly. Although she doesn't believe that Lei Gong is the master, this is only a perceptual judgment. To be rational, Qin Yang's statement about the apology she promised 50 fruits back then is enough to prove it. Thinking of this, she held back her anger, took a deep breath, and said, You guys have disappeared for 9 years. Now that you are back, what do you want to do? You don't need to know this, I just ask, are you ready to apologize? Qin Yang was too lazy to talk nonsense with her. If not, then I have to summon the rest of the masters and join forces to wipe your new Big Mom pirates from the world. Hearing this, Charlotte Linlin couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat. 50 fruits. Since what happened 9 years ago, she has been collecting fruits at a high speed, just to hand over to Dream. But after a year has passed, Dream still hasn't come to ask for debts, which makes her confirm that Dream has been disappear. But out of prudence, even after 9 years, she still kept the 50 fruits. Sure enough, this happened today. Lijet. Thinking of this, Charlotte Linlin called out a name. Immediately, dream ripples appeared in the space ahead, and a woman with a peaceful temperament stepped out. Mom. Li Jia nodded and looked at Qin Yang with a complicated expression. Li Guang Master, among the 10 masters of the year, you are not like this. Little girl, what appeared back then was just my humanoid incarnation. Qin Yang then said, Stop talking nonsense, either take out the fruit, or I will join forces with the rest of the rulers to destroy you. I am not interested in wasting time with you. Quote. Hearing this, Lijet and Charlotte Linlin looked at each other, and Vivi nodded. Such a strong style is exactly the same as the dreamy style in the past, and the credibility is relatively high. Charlotte Linlin didn't dare to gamble at all. If she really didn't pay the fruits at this time, she was afraid that she would soon face the digital dominant cadres. Even if she could escape, there would still be Aizen and even Emperor Qin behind her. This is the fruit you want. Lijet was approved, and immediately took out a large treasure box from the dream world and handed it over. Qin Yang scanned it briefly, confirmed that it was correct, and immediately nodded with satisfaction. Very well, it's considered that you know each other. I hope you don't offend me next time, otherwise it won't be a matter of 50 fruits. Seeing this, Charlotte Linlin said solemnly, What do you want to do when you come back after many years? How many people came back this time? You talk a lot. However, it's okay to tell you. This time, I came back more than last time. Ha 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 ha, you will see it sooner or later. Saying that, Qin Yang bit the treasure chest and then said, The werewolf pirates gave me a ride, you let them go. As for the grievances between you and the Beastmaster pirates, it's none of my business. Okay. Charlotte Linlin narrowed her eyes, glanced at Eve, and finally agreed. Then, goodbye. Chin Yong bit the treasure chest and turned around to leave, but just took a step, suddenly paused and said, "Who blinded you in your eyes?" "You want to know?" Charlotte Linlin snorted coldly and said, "Then tell you, this eye was injured in the battle with Blackbeard." Blackbeard? Chin Yong was stunned. He originally guessed it was Beastmaster Ryan, but he didn't expect it to be Blackbeard. Judging from the scarring of the wound was at least 2 or 3 years old. Blackbeard. Chin Yong thought for a while, then smiled. After being silent for so long, Blackbeard can't stand it anymore. Goodbye. As he said that, Chin Yang's whole body shone with lightning, and with a swoosh, it turned into a beam of electric light and flew out of the hall. Seeing this, even the others shivered and hurriedly followed. Wait, Lei Lao no, Li Guang Master. In Eve's werewolf form, she moved very quickly and could barely see Chin Yang's shadow. She shouted a few words, her eyes full of excitement. When she went to see, the dream was already at its peak. After Sabayati Archipelago was beaten to pieces, she was the first supernova to arrive. So, to her, dreams are myths. Master, I want to lead the werewolf pirate group and join your dream. Emperor Qin is my idol. I like Lord Qin so much. Can you take me to see Emperor Qin? She exclaimed excitedly. Chin Yang's physique paused and glanced back at her. You don't like it, it's just longing, even worship. I'll save you once this time, just for the sake of you giving me a ride, so let's do it for yourself. Goodbye. As soon as the voice fell, with a swoosh, Chin Yang's speed exploded. Under the state of extreme speed, he turned into a thunder light near the ground, shot out, and disappeared in front of several people in the blink of an eye. Captain Eve, people are gone. A pirate whispered. Well, what a pity. Eve sighed. What do I do next? Go back and recover. No, the deputy captain uses us as cannon fodder. I think it's better to leave the Beastmaster pirates. Turning his eyes, Eve suddenly had a good idea. No, let's go back first. There are 18 pirate groups under the Beastmaster's command. Even if we want to leave, we have to take a few with us. Hearing this, several subordinates burst into laughter. This was not only a betrayal, but also revenge in turn, but none of them objected. The vice-captain's actions almost killed them. Not to mention the decisions of these people, at the same time, in the ruins. Watching Chin Yong leave, Charlotte Linlin sat down on the ground. She looked very bad, and there was a haze between her brows. Mom. Damn dream, she said through gritted teeth, it really came back. The dark shadow that shrouded the world at the time appeared again. Are we going to get the news out? Lidget asked. No, today's events are blocked in advance, so don't spread it out. Charlotte Linlin's eyes flashed. In the style of the Beastmaster pirates, sooner or later, we will get into a dream, we just need to block the news and wait for a good show. Leaving the Cake Island, Chin Yong galloped Luffy and ran on the sea. Next, it's Whitebeard, but, 9 times out of 10, Whitebeard's fruit is snatched by Blackbeard. Find Blackbeard first. For others, finding Blackbeard may be troublesome. But for Chin Yong, it was an easy task. Immediately, his thoughts moved, and a black smoke flashed and quickly condensed into the appearance of a shadow demon. The next moment, the shadow demon closed his eyes, his consciousness appeared in the starry sky map, and after locking on the star point representing Blackbeard, a thought passed through. In an instant, the world changed. Chapter 0346 _ the worst fruit ever. A new world, an island somewhere, on the streets of a town, a line of people walking side by side. Captain, did that Shichibukai promise? The person who spoke was a man who was very sick and looked like he was about to die. He was lying on the back of a tall horse and spoke feebly. Zia ha ha ha, of course, I know his true identity, and he will definitely agree to join forces with our Blackbeard pirates. Blackbeard couldn't stop laughing. This is all the members of the Blackbeard pirates, including the Captain Blackbeard. There are only 5 people. These 5 people are Ship Doctor, Mortuary Master, Poisonous Q, titled, Death God, characterized by the appearance of terminally ill and dying. Navigator, Lafayette, Bird Fruit Ability, used to be a West Blue National Security Officer, now nicknamed, Devil Patrol. Sniper, Van Oka, uses a Maxchen spear as his weapon. He claims to be able to silently gather targets several kilometers away, and is nicknamed, Yinu. Helmsman, Jesus Burgess, the world fighting champion, nicknamed, Champion, is powerful and has a championship belt. As for the 5th person, it is Blackbeard, Marshall D. Teach, the position is Captain. At this moment, the 5 people were struttingly walking on the streets of the town, and the surrounding people would avoid them one after another. They are not famous, but anyone can see that this group of people is not easy to mess with. Waihaha Captain, since that Shichibukai agreed to join forces, can we go to rob the Heavenly Golden Fleet? First grab a sum of money, and then buy a big ship. Fighting Champion Burgess lets out a unique laugh. Poison Q said, why do you always speak so loudly? Even if you want to grab the gold, you need to provide information from Shichibukai first, ahem. The voyage routes of the Golden Fleet in the sky are all secrets, and with Shichibukai's status, it is not easy to know. If there is no information, and want to find the gold in the sky in the vast sea, it is similar to finding a needle in a haystack, it all depends on luck. We still have to avoid Whitebeard's pursuit. This kind of thing is too conspicuous and will be exposed. It's better to sell a few devil fruits. They are just garbage anyway. Lafayette raised his hat and looked at Blackbeard. Said, of course, everything follows the captain's orders. Ziahahaha, the most important thing right now is not the money, but finding the crew. Blackbeard grinned, I had a connection with Kuzan before, and now I'm going to invite him to join. He's on this island. Kuzan. Several people were taken aback, that former Marine Admiral Kuzan. Several people were surprised and didn't expect Kuzan to be on this island. At this moment, a ghostly voice sounded. Oh, funny, you guys actually wanted to invite Kuzan to join us. Who? Tilda Blackbeard's complexion changed slightly, the whole person rushed forward, and turned to look at the same time. I saw a thick cloud of black smoke at the back, and I didn't know when it appeared. The black smoke quickly spread to the sides, forming a black enchantment cover, covering Blackbeard and others. Shadow Demon. In an instant, the voices of sucking in the cold air rang out one after another. The 5 Blackbeards stared ahead, their faces extremely solemn. In front of them, black smoke billowed and gradually elongated, forming a dark figure, only visible with a pair of eyes. Blackbeard, give you a chance, kneel now, and hand over the stolen fruit obediently, I can forgive you once. It's really you. Blackbeard's face was full of stupidity. Impossible, how can you suddenly appear after disappearing for so long? We have been watching you from a higher dimension, and you can't understand it. Chinyang looked at the other party playfully and said, don't play tricks, if you want to survive, you will hand over the fruits you stole from Whitebeard. That's Whitebeard's fruit, what does it have to do with you? Champion Burgess said solemnly. Of course, this is just a rhetoric. In fact, he also knows the reason. The fruits collected by Whitebeard are to be delivered to the dream to repay the price of buying the blueprint of Hades. However, no one thought that the dream would appear. Ziahahaha, Shadow Demon, you are the only one. After a brief shock, Blackbeard quickly responded, I know that you have the ability to locate me, you can travel through space and find me in an instant. If you kill you now, will dreams be unable to find me? Before Chinyang could speak, his body began to emit black smoke repeatedly. Boom! Chinyang suddenly felt that a strong suction force locked him firmly. Huh! Chinyang raised his eyebrows and said in surprise, so it turns out, in addition to the shadow fruit, the dark fruit also has a restraint on me. This is a very surprising scene. The shadow demon has few rivals in this world, no matter elements, physics, or even hockey, can't capture him. But Gecko Moria's shadow fruit can now add a dark fruit. It can be said that the power of the dark fruit is very similar to the shadow power of the shadow demon. Ziahahaha dark water. Blackbeard took a palm from the sky and forcefully absorbed the shadow demon. I have already obtained this power. In the records of the devil fruit icon, this is the most ferocious ability in history, the special Logia dark fruit. Seeing this, Chin-yang sighed, boring provocation, welcome to Aizen-sama. As soon as the voice fell, suddenly, a huge spiritual pressure came down. Boom. It seemed like a downpour, pouring on the hearts of Blackbeard and the others, calming them down in an instant. And the next moment, in the space, an illusory figure quickly condensed into a solid body. The man was wearing a white Void Knight Palace suit, with a big back, and a dao around his waist. He stepped out and appeared in front of Blackbeard in an instant. The most ferocious ability in history. Stop laughing. Aizen swung his right hand, a black light flashed between his palms, and the high concentration of spirits compressed, forming a powerful force. Deputy Captain Dream. Blackbeard opened his mouth wide and said incredulously, even if he has the ability to summon, this is coming too fast. Hearing this, Aizen didn't know what to do, and when he turned his hands, high-concentration spiritual power instantly poured out. The 90 of the broken Tao, the black coffin. The swamp-like Reiatsu shrouded Blackbeard and the others, and the 4 black walls rose up. This black coffin board was formed in just 1 second. The next moment, the pitch-black violent spiritual pressure turned into countless sharp thorns, all of which emerged from the black officer's interior. Puff puff. In an instant, the 5 people in the coffin were suppressed and unable to move. Hundreds of sharp black thorns penetrated the body from all directions. With a loud bang, the black coffin shook, and then collapsed. With the dissipation of the broken way, the Blackbeard, who was invincible just a moment ago, has rolled his eyes, and his body is covered in blood and falls straight down. With a bang, he fell to his knees. Shit damn wow. Understood. That's what power is called. Aizen looked calm and said softly, what you call the most vicious fruit in history, in my opinion, is not worth mentioning. Chapter 0347_cut your arm. Your so-called most ferocious ability in history, in my opinion, is not worth mentioning. Aizen looked down at the kneeling Blackbeard, and there was no pity in his eyes. Dark fruits are indeed strong, and are very special among the rare Logias. Unlike normal Logia, dark fruit does not have the ability to fluid, and the hit it takes will take double damage. Its ability is to turn the body into darkness, with a black hole-like gravitational force that can suck, compress and smash everything that comes into contact with the darkness. In addition, the real horror of the dark fruit is that it can incapacitate the ability. However, this ability is useless to dreams. All of Qin Yang's phantom bodies have never eaten devil fruits, so they are naturally not afraid of this kind of power. Cough cough. Blackbeard knelt on the ground with his palms on the ground, coughing one after another, spitting out blood all over the floor. Is this the power of a deputy captain? He looked terrified, full of fear of death. I didn't even survive a single move. It's beyond my expectations that you didn't die. Being able to speak makes me admire you even more. Aizen said calmly, while looking behind Blackbeard. Reaper, Poison Q, Champion, Burgess, Yin Yu, Van Oka, these 3 people have fallen in a pool of blood and lost consciousness. Only one person was spared, and that was Lafayette. At this moment, this person had a pair of white wings growing on his back and soaring in the air. I sensed danger in advance, so I dodged to the sky. I have a keen sense of danger. Aizen smiled and looked up at the other party. Unfortunately, it's meaningless. In the face of the power gap called level, resistance is futile. As he spoke, he slowly pulled out the Zanpakuto from his waist. The blade exudes a faint blue light, which is captivating. Through the mirror. In midair, Lafayette was awe-inspiring and quickly said, "Wait, Vice Captain Dream, it was just a misunderstanding just now." However, as soon as his voice fell, Eisen in his field of vision had disappeared. The next moment, his wings hurt, and they were torn apart and chopped off. Lafayette screamed and fell from the air. When he looked behind him in horror, there, Eisen stood up in the air at some point, and above his left hand, he was still holding one of his wings. When did you have the illusion that I will let you go? Eisen threw away the wings at will, and at the same time threw a knife to remove the blood on the knife. Tell me, where are the fruits hidden by you? Boom. Fate fell beside Blackbeard. 1. In just a short meeting, the Blackbeard pirates were almost wiped out. Oh. Eisen. Blackbeard's face was still contorted in pain, but after seeing the difference in strength, he didn't have any extra thoughts. The fruit is not on us. If you kill us now, you can't get the cue. Then kill you to vent your anger. Eisen spoke lightly, and when he raised his sword, he was about to cut it off. Wait, don't kill me. Blackbeard was taken aback, and despite the trauma, he shouted, I put the fruit in an absolutely safe place, I can tell you. Say. I put the fruit on the Macious Island, in the New World. Blackbeard gritted his teeth. He is a hero, able to bend and stretch. In a life-threatening situation, let alone hurt him, even if he tramples on his dignity, or even asks him to kneel and lick his shoes, he will not hesitate. Hearing this, Eisenbeebe was stunned, and after a moment of reflection in his mind, he said, Macious, that is the restricted area, it is already the end of the New World route, and it is rumored that Lahoodle is near Matthias. The New World is roughly divided into several regions. The first is the starting 3 islands, which is the entrance to the New World, and then there are 3 waterways. The sea area in front of these 3 waterways is divided into the Red-Haired Sea area, the Big Mom Sea area, and the Kaido Sea area. No, it should now be called the Elan Sea area. And these 3 waterways will meet in front of the New World. The sea area where they meet is Whitebeard's territory, which is also the Whitebeard Sea area. In front of the Whitebeard Sea area, that is the most terrifying area in the New World, only the place where One Piece, King of Pirates Roger once ruled, commonly known as the death penalty area. No one can survive in that kind of place, and even if they can enter it, it cannot be occupied for a long time, and it is not suitable for use as a stronghold. The concept of climate no longer exists there, and all kinds of bizarre scenes are everyday. Mauritius Island is a relatively quiet uninhabited island. At least, this island will not suddenly go up to the sky, nor will it suddenly go into the sea, and there are no terrifying beasts on it, and it will not burn or melt ice. You hid the fruit in Matthias. Eisen frowned slightly. It's really close to the Whitebeard Sea, but what's your reason for doing this? I killed the captain of the 4th Division of Whitebeard, stole the fruit and ran away. I was chased by the entire Whitebeard pirates, and I had to escape there. There is no reason, just a last resort. Blackbeard's face paled. That buried spot, only I know. Really? Eisen lowered his body and walked in front of Blackbeard, with a flash of sword light. Immediately, with a puff, an arm flew in the air. Blackbeard was stunned, and then screamed loudly. He covered his left arm, which was already empty, and only blood was constantly overflowing. You killed me, you will never find the fruit. He yelled in horror. I'm not interested in going to that kind of place to collect fruit. Eisen threw off the blood on the sword. His eyes were indifferent. Cut your arm, it is to punish your superfluous thoughts just now. Now I will give you a chance to live. Within 2 months, I will retrieve the fruit. At that time, I will let the shadow demon see you again. Understand? I understand. All the fruits will be given to you, just don't kill me. Blackbeard endured the pain of the severed arm, and quickly nodded in agreement. In fact, his demand for devil fruits is not that great. Because of the particularity of dark fruits, he wants to expand his power and has a more direct and straightforward way. Therefore, he didn't want to die. Compared with Zhao Ming, he had only 50 fruits in a mere dream, so he simply gave it to him. Knowing that the shadow demon could summon the deputy captain so easily, he gave himself 10 courage and did not dare to do it. You do it yourself. Eisen shook his head, flicked his fingers, and suddenly, a flame hit the broken arm. The 54 breakthroughs. Abandoned flames. A disc-shaped flame 3.4 hit the broken arm with precision, burning it out in an instant. Let's go. Yes, Eisen-sama. The shadow demon nodded, showing a mocking smile at Blackbeard. You have to thank me, it's not Lord Chin who was summoned, otherwise, you can already prepare the coffin. While speaking, the two entered the shadow world and disappeared instantly. Meanwhile, in a church in the city, the former Admiral Kuzan stood in front of the priest, doing a boring prayer. They're gone. The priest nodded, still reading the scriptures. Kuzan, your mood is messed up again. The dream has appeared again, it's only been 9 years. Kuzan put his hands in his pockets and looked lazy. How long does this kind of prayer last? When you can beat me. Priest chuckled, don't meddle with the dreamy things, or you will die without a place to be buried. That's a group of murderers from a higher dimension. Chapter 0348 Sky Island Divine Kingdom. Outside the waters of Cake Island, Chin-Yong floated on the water. He slowly opened his eyes and whispered to himself, the fruit owed by Big Mom has been recovered, and the fruit that Blackbeard stole will be taken 2 months later. The rest is when Long bought Gorose, 5 back then. 15 pieces owed by the elders, and 75 pieces owed by a certain goddess of Sky Island. Quote. The fruit owed by the Revolutionary Army is the last, and priority is given to dealing with a certain saint. At present, Chin-Yong has 248 fruits, plus the 50 delivered by Charlotte Linlin, the number has reached 298. After solving the Holy Maiden case, he will be able to upgrade his body illusion to a 6-star level. The question is, how do I get to Sky Island? Sky Island is located at an altitude of 10,000 meters above the sea, commonly known as Baebaihai. For people in the world, there is no absolutely safe way to land. Generally, there are 2 options. 1, through the life or death route of the columnar ocean current, rush directly from the sea to the White Sea at an altitude of 7,000 meters, and then pass through the White Sea. C, into the Baebaihai. In this way, there are only 2 results, either all members of the team can log in safely, or they can be destroyed. The second method, relatively speaking, is slightly better. It is rumored that 1/3 of the 100 people can arrive alive. That is the hot air balloon. Using a huge balloon, it starts from the red soil continent and directly enters the Baebaihai at an altitude of 10,000 meters. This kind of technology, only the world government has mastered. Forget it, let's just fly up. Chin-Yong shook his head, his thoughts moved, and suddenly, Lei Gong's body shone with white light and gradually turned into a human shape. The figure has 6 wings on its back, and it is full of divine brilliance. It is a holy archangel. I haven't used this phantom for a long time, I'm really not used to it. With a chuckle, Chin-Yang's 6 wings trembled, and he immediately entered a state of ultra-high-speed flight. Boom! There was a huge wave on the sea, and the archangel turned into a ray of holy light, soaring into the sky. This world, there are many islands in the sky, and there are also many countries in Sky Island. Different from the inhabitants on land, the characteristics of Sky Island people are that they have a pair of small wings on their backs. These winged people are actually moon people. Because the moon's energy is insufficient, they came to Pirate Planet, or Blue Star. The specific time cannot be verified, but one thing is certain is that there is still human habitation on the moon. When the Holy Cult pirates sent out a plea for help, I injected holy light into the Pegasus Knight, intending to use it as a signpost, but, 9 years later, the energy consumption of that holy light was too much, and the current information feedback is too weak. In just over a minute, Chin-Yong had already flown to an altitude of 10,000 meters. He tried to search for the location of the road sign, but the feedback information was very weak. There was a general direction, but it was impossible to judge how far it was. Tilda can only aim in one direction, the carpet search. F. Thinking of this, Chin-Yong locked the direction and accelerated and flew away. It took me 5 days to find this. He flew from the sky above the Omsi area of the New World towards the Red Earth continent, and even passed by the Holy Land Mariajoy in the middle. Finally, 5 days later, in the vast White Sea, he saw a magnificent and mysterious island. The island is floating on the white cloud layer, and the entire island itself does not have such a thing as soil, but is composed of white cloud material. The whole island is divided into 3 parts, like a multi-layered cake. The lower floor is the largest, the middle floor is slightly smaller, and a palace stands on the upper floor. The palace was built by going and looks very imposing. And in the White Sea in front of this island, there is a huge white cloud gate. On the door hangs a sign that reads, "The Kingdom of God in the Sky." It really isn't Enel's Land of Gods, but another sky island country. The road sign gave me a hint that it's very close, and I think it's right. Qinyong thought about it and flew towards the gate of white clouds. After passing through the gate, he soon entered the Kingdom of Gods in the Sky. Qinyong put away his wings and descended directly into the lower space. On the lower level of the island, there is a place for docking ships. Here, Qinyong saw a warship, marine warship. Not only that, but there are several pirate ships and sailboats without flags. From the port, Qinyong entered the interior of the island. You can see that in the center of the island, there is a huge circular building, the Baiyun building. That building connects the middle level space and seems to want to reach the middle level. Can pass there. Lower, middle, upper, it's really a strict hierarchy. Qinyong put on his hood, chuckled lightly, and walked down the street. The residents here have wings on their backs, a pair of small white wings, and no flight function. Qinyong, who looks like a foreigner at first sight, will be watched by the people of Sky Island when he walks. While walking, suddenly, there was a commotion ahead. A group of guys who are obviously pirates are running towards this side, and behind this group of people, a group of soldiers in silver armor are chasing. It's a magic weapon. Are the magic soldiers expelling outsiders again? HMPH, these Blue Sea people don't have the slightest bit of rules. I really don't know why the Holy Maiden should allow them to enter the Kingdom of God. The surrounding Sky Island people whispered, all expressing hostility. Qinyong raised his eyebrows and said to himself, "It seems that you were right. There is indeed a saint here. I have to grab a soldier and ask where the saint lives." Just thinking about it, the pirates in front shouted loudly. "Brother in front of you, are you from the Blue Sea? Help us, these magic soldiers are unreasonable and insist on arresting us." The leader was 25-6, dressed in cool clothes and a clown hat. Their running movements were extremely comical. After seeing Qinyong, they immediately shouted, "HMPH, intruder, surrender obediently." Suddenly, one of the chasing soldiers stabbed with a spear, and suddenly, a huge flame, like a fire dragon, roared in an instant. "Damn it," the pirate scolded, "if you have the ability, don't use Yanbei, we are bare-handed, who is afraid of who?" Shouting like this, the man 787 suddenly turned around and avoided Qinyong's side. "Brother, it's fate to meet each other. We are all from Blue Sea and should help each other. The armor on this group of magic soldiers is very valuable. How about we kill them?" Hearing this, Qinyong was speechless for a while. This man even stared at someone else's armor. No wonder the other party wanted to hunt him down. The Holy Maiden is right, Blue Sea people are all greedy. The spear soldier missed a single hit, but snorted coldly, holding guns in both hands, pointed in the direction of Qinyong and the gun flashes. As soon as the voice fell, the spearhead suddenly appeared golden light, and with a swoosh, it turned into a laser, and it suddenly called. "Sparkling shellfish." The pirate's expression changed slightly. "Why do you have such rare shellfish?" Qinyong was also a little surprised. There are many kinds of shellfish on Sky Island, but the flash shellfish is very rare. The laser fired by the flash shell is similar to the ability of Admiral Kizaru. "Go to hell, intruder of the Blue Sea." The magic weapon spear pierced, and the power of the flash shell was maximized. The laser as thick as a child's arm came directly. Qin Yang stretched out his hand suddenly, spread out his 5 fingers, and grabbed lightly. Boom! This seemingly terrifying golden light was instantly wiped out under this hand. What? Shenbing was stunned and looked at Qin Yang blankly. After a while, his complexion changed greatly, and he suddenly knelt down and said, Master God. Huh? Qin Yang was startled. God General. Chapter 0349-Holy Maiden. God General. Qin Yang was stunned, and fixed his eyes on the divine soldier holding a long chang. And as the divine soldier knelt down, the 5 or 6 divine soldiers in the front and back followed him and knelt down to salute. In this case, it should be mistaken for a certain person. No, it's unreasonable. How can it be such a coincidence? I'm still wearing a hood, and he can't see my face. Qin Yang's thoughts changed, and he suddenly had a guess. And the pirate in his magic weapon opened his mouth in surprise. Okay, brother, you actually got the status of a god general. Who is your brother? Qin Yang sneered inwardly, but his face was very cold, and he said bluntly, how did you recognize me? Master Wushenjiang, before you smashed my gun flash with one palm and use the holy light, this is the power that can only be used by gods, the most devout believer of Her Royal Highness, and the maintenance of the order of the kingdom of God the person. Quote. The spear soldier answered truthfully and would not doubt it at all. It is possible that Qin Yang himself mastered the holy light. So it is. Qin Yang suddenly realized that the previous attack to annihilate the opponent had indeed used the power of the holy light, but for a moment, he did not expect the opponent to feel it. Lord God General, these people behind you are illegal intruders, and they have broken the rules of the kingdom of God. They must be arrested and put in the heavenly prison. The spear soldier continued. I also ask Lord God to give way first. Let's arrest them. How could Qin Yang let the other party arrest someone? He still has something to ask. Immediately, he waved his hand and said, I will handle these people, you all step back. This is. The spearman was very hesitant, but considering that the person in front of him was a divine general and his status was 2 levels higher than him, he had no choice but to do the same. We withdraw. Soon, these magic soldiers evacuated and went to patrol the rest of the place. Watching the few people walk away, Qin Yang turned around and pressed the man's shoulder, saying, Brother, what are you running for? Misunderstanding, we were just passing by. Pirates laughed dryly and apologized, Brother, you've already become a god, so there's no need to meet me. What's your name? Daxu, Sea Circus, Captain. The man who called himself Daxu took off the clown hat on his head, shrugged his shoulders, and said helplessly, We are also very helpless. More than a month ago, we were washed into the sky by a sea current. Many crew members and I were scattered. In order to find them, we had to enter the Beibaihai, and then smuggled into this Sky Island Divine Kingdom. Quote. Not a pirate. Qin Yang didn't believe it. The movement of this person just now was obviously a master of fighting technique, and he was still at sea. How could he not be a pirate? It is estimated that this sea circus is usually a circus, and when necessary, it can be transformed into a pirate group immediately. However, Qin Yang didn't bother about this issue. It didn't matter whether the other party was a pirate or not. I'll ask you a few questions and answer them well. I can forgive you the sins you've committed. You see, I'm a god general now. You ask. I will answer honestly. Qin Yang Isho said, What did you do here, and you are going to be hunted down by the divine soldiers? What are the so-called rules of the kingdom of God? I didn't do anything wrong. Daxu shook his head and said seriously, It's just that there is a statue of a saint in Angel Square. I climbed up and touched a few times, and the magician came to arrest me. Is this reasonable? It's not true. To offend their saintess lips again, and the so-called rules of the kingdom of God, or the laws of the kingdom of God, are even more nonsense. There are 10 articles in total, each of which is related to the saintess, one of which is that the saintess cannot be called by their names. You must call the Holy Maiden, or the divine soldiers will trouble you. This saint is boring enough. Qinyang turned to his heart and asked, what is a god? You've been here for more than a month, so you don't even know this, do you? Aren't you a god general? Daksu asked in confusion. How did you become a god general? You must know that a god general must be blessed by the saint, and he has to stand out from a large number of priests. I'm asking you. Qinyang narrowed his eyes, his body exuding a faint divine radiance. Daksu's expression changed slightly, and he quickly said, here, you can also see that the island is divided into 3 layers, which is a phenomenon of strict hierarchy. Not to mention the ordinary gods, there are magic soldiers, priests, and gods on it. In addition, there is the saint, and I heard there is a priest. Who is the king? Without a king, the saintess is the highest order. However, usually the saints will not show up, and the gods will be the ones with the highest status. As for how many gods will be, I have never seen them. I heard that there are more than 3 people, and they live in the middle class. Space. Hearing this, Qinyang nodded clearly, and gained a general understanding of the so-called Sky Island divine country. Who is the god they believe in? God. At the end, Qinyang couldn't help but ask curiously. No, it's the god of omniscience, a mysterious tree. Daksu said casually. Is it? Qinyang pondered for a moment, then looked up at the sky. Here, the top of his head is not the sky, but the middle space, where the generals are. After a little hesitation, Qinyang decided to go up and talk about it. As for when the Holy Maiden will appear, and where exactly, it would be more direct to grab a god general and ask. When he thought of it, he did it, and Qinyang immediately walked towards the central building. Wait, brother. Daksu hurriedly followed. He smiled and said, I know, you are definitely not a god, why don't we work together? Huh, Qinyang glanced at it, considering whether to kill it directly. Don't, I'm not malicious. Daksu said quickly, if you need information, I can tell you, and I can help you find out, but you take me to the middle space. I think my crew, probably they were caught and put in a prison, and I have to go and save them. As you please. Qinyang nodded and ignored him. All the way to the center of the island, the closer you get, the more you feel the hugeness of the central building. The circular white cloud building is probably the size of several football fields. There is an arch below, and there are guards in front of the door. The direction these divine soldiers were facing was a square. In the center of the square, there was a 10-meter-high snow-white statue. To be a woman, with her hands folded to cover her breasts, a silk scarf draped around her waist, and her back spread out with pure white wings. This wing is similar to that of the Holy Archangel, very large, except that the statue has only 1 pair of wings. This is the statue of the Holy Maiden. Daksu whispered. Everyone here thinks that the Holy Maiden is an angel, but it's actually just Zone mythical human fruit model, angel, a person of ability. Qinyang glanced at the statue, noncommittal, and walked towards the entrance. The guards' magic soldiers found them and immediately blocked their way. Come and stop, Blue Sea people, this is the staircase to the upper level of the Kingdom of God, you must not break in. Seeing this, before Qinyang opened his mouth, Daksu jumped out 1 step ahead and scolded, Get out of the way, this is Lord God General. God General. The 2 god soldiers were stunned. Qinyang's eyes narrowed, and suddenly, the holy light all over his body shone, looking extremely sacred. The divine soldier was stunned. With such a huge holy light, how much did Lady Saintess dote on this divine general? Since it is Lord God, then please, gate of opening. The 2 heavy doors were slowly pushed open, and Qinyang had to be surprised by the brute force of the 2 divine soldiers. Master God, please. Hearing this, Qinyang walked into the stairs without saying a word. In fact, he doesn't need to be so troublesome at all, and he can fly up directly. However, he is still a little curious about this so-called Kingdom of God, and he is not in a hurry anyway, so he just follows the rules here. Stepping up the stairs to the middle floor, Qinyang asked, these god soldiers, with wings on their backs, are from Sky Island, but I am from Blue Sea, so they can recognize me as a god general. I don't know, but there are many Blue Sea people in the priest. Daksu laughed. The Holy Maiden allows the Blue Sea people to enter the kingdom of God in order to select masters and brainwash them into believers. In fact, I was also selected once, but I was eliminated voluntarily without seeing the Holy Maiden. Quote. The sentence of being eliminated voluntarily is a bit interesting. It is estimated that I found something tricky and took the initiative to withdraw. At this time, Daksu said again, by the way, the once-a-month selection of gods is about to start, and the saint will show up at that time. I heard that the saint is the most beautiful woman in the sky, and she can compete with the world's most beautiful woman, Boya. Comparable to Hancock. Quote. The Queen Girl. Chin-Yong was thoughtful, and there was no nonsense. Climbing up thousands of steps all the way, Chin-Yong and the others finally stepped into the middle space. However, at this moment, in front of the gate, under a dazzling white light, a man flapping his wings was intercepting him. Listen to the following, a god general has come up. I don't believe this, and it's not the day of the god's election, how can there be a new god general? Visitor hugged Shang in both hands and stared at Chin-Yong. I am the god of Li-Jie, the most devout believer of the Holy Maiden, who are you? Chapter 0350 _ Are you a saint? I am the god of power Song, who are you? Appearing in front of Chin-Yong was a man with wings. Man was dressed in light armor and held a long chang. His face was sharp and angular, and when he looked at Chin-Yong, he was on guard. Is this the god general? Chin-Yang's face was calm, and he looked at the other person calmly. Unlike other Sky Island people, this person's wings were angel wings with a wingspan of several meters. Of course, this is not the point. The point is that Chin-Yong felt the power of the holy light on the other side. Seeing that he didn't speak, Leah God will frown, I can't feel faith in you. It seems that the magic soldiers below are also blind, and even put you, a Blue Sea person, up. In this case, I as a guardian, I will exclude you with my own hands. Quote. He said that, he flicked his long chang, and the electricity came out like a dragon. The holy light of the spearhead shone, and the destructive power was multiplied. A spear stabbed out and locked Chin-Yang's breath, as if everything could be broken under this spear. Are you a gunslinger? Chin-Yang raised his eyebrows, flipped his left hand, and suddenly the huge power of the holy light turned into a golden long chang, heading towards him. What? Li Jie was taken aback and said inwardly, this is the holy light, that's right. Moreover, the holy light is used to directly condense weapons, which even the Holy Maiden can't do. While thinking about it, the two long changs collided. Boom! The tip of the spear touched, and the power of two holy lights burst out. The god of power Song couldn't hold on for even a second, and in 130 seconds, he was swallowed by the huge power of holy light. The power of the holy light contained in Chin-Yang's shot was 10 times that of the opponent in terms of quality and energy. Impossible. How do you control such a huge holy light? Stunned, the god of Li Song will be shot flying. I saw a pillar of holy light rising into the sky, piercing the sky, and everyone in the middle space could see this scene. What's the situation? This breath is Leah. It's the direction of the central staircase. Who did you fight with? It's an unfamiliar aura, but the power of the holy light is too huge, Lady Saint. From several directions, Chi-Chi sounded the sound of gasping for air. Ordinary people may not be able to experience it personally, but as a divine general, I cannot be more sensitive to the power of the holy light. The power of the holy light contained within this blow to the sky, regardless of quality or energy, is too huge, comparable to a saint. God would have absolutely no such power. After a long time, the holy light that penetrated the sky dissipated. In midair, Leah God will take a full blow. At this moment, he is unable to fly and falls straight down. Boom! With a muffled sound, he fell directly in front of the door. Is this the combat power of a divine general? Chin-Yang took back his long chang and walked over. It's too weak, even 1/5 of my holy light can't bear it. The Holy Archangel is currently a 3-star, equivalent to the 4 Emperor level combat power. The power of the holy light contained in the body is very huge. Compared with this kind of god general, it is simply the difference between a small stream and a long river. So strong. Killed a god in one blow. Daksu murmured in surprise and couldn't help but look at Qin Yang. Brother, big brother, who are you? Mastering the power of holy light and being so powerful, he must not be a nameless person. But Daksu wanted to break his head, but he couldn't find anyone who agreed. Qin Yang ignored this. He stepped out of the gate and walked to the front of Leah God General. The Power Song God will be wounded all over his body, but his body is still emitting the power of holy light, and this power is rapidly healing him. Compared to combat power, are you better at healing? Your application of holy light is too shallow. Qin Yang couldn't help shaking his head. The holy light itself has healing power, but to use the holy light to annihilate the enemy requires skill. It can be said that with the same amount of holy light energy, Qin Yang's methods are much more clever than the opponent. Who the hell are you? You are by no means a god. The gods don't have the power of you. Li Jie gasped for breath, watching Qin Yang approaching. His heart was shocked, and he quickly shouted, "What is the purpose of your coming here?" While shouting, he held the long chang and stood up slowly. The next moment, 4 figures flew from the sky, swish, swish, and in the blink of an eye, 4 more gods dressed in armor and wings on their backs would arrive. The 4 newly arrived divine generals, 3 men and 1 woman, flew into the air with extremely solemn expressions on their faces. This situation is not something we can handle. It seems that Li Jie is not an opponent at all. This person has a very powerful power of holy light. Summon the Holy Maiden. Hopefully the Holy Maiden can respond. Immediately, the 4 of them began to pray and murmured softly. The next moment, the 4 pillars of holy light suddenly rose up, forming a cloud of holy light above the sky. Interesting, can angel fruits give others the power of holy light? Qin Yang looked up at the cloud of holy light, and a figure was slowly being born inside it. You're ready to run, stay here, and fight later. I won't take care of you. Get involved, don't blame me if you die. Hearing this, Daksu scratched his head. You brought me here, I should thank you. It's really unethical to run away now, but my crew is all locked in the sky prison. I have to go first, hope you are safe. Goodbye, brother. After saying that, he ran away. The rest of the circus members followed suit. Seeing this, Qin Yang was speechless for a while. This guy spoke nicely and ran without any hesitation. At this moment, above the sky, the cloud of holy light suddenly changed its light and shadow. A clear female voice came out. It turned out to be you. I knew you would come sooner or later, but I didn't expect it to be earlier than expected. The voice fell, and a holy light descended, and inside, a stunning woman slowly flew over. Women have a pair of white and sacred wings, and the power that descends is astonishing. Welcome to the Holy Maiden. Several god generals bowed their heads in unison with pious expressions on their faces. You are the saintess. Qin Yang looked at the other party. This woman was wearing a thin, white dress that looked like a wedding dress, with a white halo on top of her head, which was very peculiar. How do you know it's us? Qin Yang asked curiously. My name is Angel, the saint of the kingdom of God. Vivi Isho, a woman who called herself Angel, said, Welcome to the kingdom of Sky Island, the divine archangel of dreams. He. Qin Yang couldn't help laughing. It's too late to welcome you now, don't think we'll forget what you did 9 years ago. However, before that, you answer my question first. How do you know it's me? I don't know it's you, but in the dream, the only person who masters the power of holy light and has such a powerful combat power is the Holy Archangel. Angela smiled, not afraid of Qin Yang's sudden action. This is what the Tree of Omniscience told me. Do you want to ask what the Tree of Omniscience is next? I can't answer that. Hearing this, Qin Yang was fortunate enough to take off his hood, revealing the face underneath. Seeing this, the 5 god generals changed their expressions and blurted out, "Dream Archangel." The power song god will tremble even more. Of course, he knows the prestige of the Holy Archangel. It is no wonder that there is such a huge power of holy light. This is a real angel. Archangel, the purpose of your visit should be the grievances of the year, that is Leek himself. Stop talking nonsense, it's too late to say it's a misunderstanding. Qin Yang's right hand grasped in the air, and suddenly, a long chain of holy light condensed out. Don't worry, I won't show mercy just because you're a woman. As soon as the voice fell, with a swoosh, Sheng Guangcheng suddenly shot out. Angel sighed, opened his arms, and let Zhongcheng fly. Puff! In an instant, Sheng Guangcheng pierced her chest. My Lady of Saintus! The 5 gods will exclaim. Chapter 0351, God, Enel. My Lady of Saintus! The holy light's spear pierced through Angel's chest with a single blow, and the 5 divine generals who saw this scene were all stunned and sad. The sound of clicking sounded, and Angel's body seemed to freeze. After being pierced by the holy light spear, the extinguished cracks spread from the chest area, and finally covered the whole body. The next moment, there was a bang, like the shattering of the essence glass, and Angel turned into a piece of crystal dust. Huh! Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, his eyes narrowed, and he immediately sensed the release. After a while, he secretly said in his heart, is it something similar to a clone? The clone is just a guess. At least this angel is definitely not the main body. If it is the main body, he dares to shoot him so hard, it is really courting death. Just thinking about it, the cloud of holy light cast a ray of light again, and within the beam of light, Angel's figure condensed again. My Lady of Saintus! Several gods were immediately overjoyed. Angel raised his hand, stopped the general, and looked at Qin Yang at the same time, and said, Archangel, what happened 9 years ago was originally a misunderstanding. According to my later investigation, it was Leek's actions without authorization. In this regard, Qin Yang was noncommittal, and said bluntly, a few pirate groups including Rek were ordered by you. Yes. If that's the case, then there's nothing to say. Qin Yang chuckled and said, I'm not interested in paying attention to the specific situation. Since you bought the blueprints and didn't deliver enough fruits, that's a challenge to us. I'm the ruler of the sky, and I'm responsible for annihilating your kingdom of God. As soon as the voice fell, Qin Yang's whole person suddenly burst into a strong holy light, and the whole person looked extremely sacred, like an angel in the heavens. The next moment, the 3 pairs of wings on its back suddenly opened, and in an instant, the 6 wings shook, like a beam of light, and flew in front of Angel in an instant. So fast. Angel's pupils shrank, but he did not choose to dodge. She only felt a pain in her neck, and her whole body had been strangled. My Lady! The 5 gods were startled, and they were about to attack immediately. However, Angel immediately raised his hand and stopped them again. Archangel, your dream status is detached, and our kingdom of God is unwilling to be your enemy. I am willing to pay 20 fruits to resolve this misunderstanding. He. Qin Yang looked at each other indifferently. Give all 75 fruits, I can consider giving you a chance to beg for mercy. Just begging for forgiveness, as for whether or not to forgive, it depends on Qin Yang's mood. Hearing this, Angel sighed, unfortunately, we did have nearly 100 devil fruits at the time, but now there are no more, only 20, if you are not satisfied, can you give us a period of time? I can let people to collect. You're still negotiating terms with me, do you think I can't kill you? Qin Yang said calmly. I know, this one in front of you is just your incarnation, probably similar to the existence of a soul body, but your body must be on this island, I want to find you without any effort. 1. Xiongdong paused for a while, then snorted coldly. Besides, do you think that you are an angel fruit, so you can fight me equally? To tell you the truth, the higher the angel's level, the higher the combat power, and its manifestation. It's the number of wings. You, a little angel with a pair of wings, want to challenge me too. Hearing this, Angel was silent for a moment, and a headache flashed in his eyes. She really doesn't want to be an enemy of dreams, because of the existence of the Tree of Omniscience. She knows more about dreams than ordinary people, so she is more aware of the horror of dreams. It is a person from a higher dimension, a mysterious organization that crosses borders, and the dream in this world is probably just the corner of iceberg who is a real dream. 9 years after the dream disappeared, she guessed that this group of people should have returned to another world. The reason for this speculation is very simple. She carried this doubt, asked the question under the Tree of Omniscience, and then ate the leaf of answer, and the answer she got was that the dream is not in this world. Thinking of this, she sighed and said, "Archangel, I'm running out of patience." Qin Yang's eyes narrowed, and a huge power of holy light was condensed in his palm. Holy shock. The shining white light was extremely restless, and there was a loud bang, and the saint who was strangled by his neck was immediately annihilated by one blow. Not even a single particle was left. My Lady of Saintus. The Power Song God General's eyes widened, his eyes were blood red, he shouted, and rushed over with a gun. Seeing this, the other gods also started to take revenge for the saint. A bunch of brainwashed idiots. Qin Yang was too lazy to pay attention to this group of people. He slapped his left hand, and suddenly, a strong holy light shot out from his palm. Holy judgment. Boom. In an instant, 5 people were swallowed up. The next moment, Qin Yang flapped his wings, flew up suddenly, and rushed to the top layer of the island. At the speed of an archangel, this distance will come in an instant. He broke through a layer of white clouds and flew to the front of a magnificent building. This is a church-like super-large building, not a white cloud structure, but a pile of stones. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came softly inside the tall door, and Angel's figure was slowly walking out. Unlike Model Angel did not have a halo above his head at this time. At this moment, a loud laughter came. Looks like you're in big trouble. Yeah, ha ha ha, please, I can help you once. With a snort, an electric light flickered, and the power of thunder and lightning condensed into a figure on Angel's side. This man has a pair of long ears, and there are 4 strange drums on his back. The 4 drums are connected in a circle and are engraved with black hook jade. At this moment, the man was floating cross-legged in the air, holding a going long stick in his hand. Please, yeah, ha ha ha. The man laughed loudly. However, I'm also very troublesome when you die, leading to the endless land. I need you to be the guide. God, Enel, do you know who the other party is? Angel said softly. He is the master of the dreamy sky, the holy archangel. Forget it, I said it, you don't understand, you are just a person immersed in yourself, a fool in a dream. What did you say, woman? Enel narrowed his eyes, and the electric lights flickered all over his body. I came here to find you, not to ask you to help me lead the way, but to command you as a god. My Arc Proverbs is about to come. Done. It depends on my mood whether to take you back to your hometown or not. Quote. Angel was silent, and seemed too lazy to speak to this man. He. Qin Yang laughed. Enel, a person with the ability of Guro Guro no Mi, Rumble Fruit, thinks that eating a Logia will make him invincible. A guy who has no knowledge, dares to speak up here. This person is not a man of this country, but a god of another Sky Island country, claiming to be a god, of course. And hearing this, Enel immediately turned his eyes to Qin Yang. No one can go against God's will. He said that, his going long stick slapped and hit the big drum behind him. Suddenly, the power of thunder and lightning roared out, turned into a thunder dragon, and rushed towards Qin Yang at once. Legend. Qin Yang gave a light drink. With a bang, a thunderbolt descended from the sky, and then turned into the appearance of the divine beast Lei Gong. Guro Guro no Mi, Rumble Fruit, how dare you shout in front of my Thunder Master? Lei Gong roared, and the same thunder light shot out. At the same time, Qin Yang stepped out. Thump, There was a dull loud bang, like a thunderbolt from the blue, and the next moment, a force of holy light so huge that it was visible to the naked eye instantly enveloped the entire island. This is the holy light, and your three-legged cat is also worthy of being called an angel. Chapter 0352-Tree of Omniscience. Your three-legged cat is also worthy of being called an angel. Along with Qin Yang's words, a huge power of holy light enveloped the entire Sky Island Divine Kingdom. In the lower space, countless gods raised their heads and prayed devoutly. Everyone thought that it was the saint who came and started to worship spontaneously. Qin Yang's face was startled, and he felt that strands of faith from below were gathering towards Angel in front of him. "That's it," he said suddenly, "no wonder you want to create a kingdom of gods, it turns out to be for faith. Angels can absorb faith." When the Archangel's transformation just appeared, there was a very huge power of faith gathering towards him, but Qin Yang didn't bother to absorb it at that time, and slapped it away. Hearing this, Angel gritted his teeth and said after a long while, "Archangel, as I said just now, I can give you 20 fruits as an apology to resolve the misunderstanding 9 years ago. If you are not satisfied, I can share these gods with you. The faith of the people. You are a true angel and should need it 15 more than I do." Quote. "Boring, angels who need faith, that's second-rate, I don't need it." Qin Yang was too lazy to speak, and when he held his right hand, a strong holy light suddenly gathered and turned into a sacred sword. "Stop talking nonsense, today I will destroy your kingdom of God." As he said that, he moved, approached Angel like lightning, and then slashed his head with a sword. Seeing this, Angel's complexion changed slightly, and he knew that there was no way to retreat, so he had no choice but to fight. Her back suddenly opened a pair of wings, fluttered, and flew away quickly, and in the blink of an eye, she was already submerged in the clouds. "You can't run away." Qin Yang's expression was the same as usual, the 6 wings turned, and the whole person quickly chased after him. While fighting here, the divine beast Lei Gong and Enel also clashed. Both of them are messengers who control thunder and lightning. Under the collision of attacks of the same nature, they will only cancel each other out. Boom! The 2 thunder dragons devoured each other and finally annihilated in space. The thunder and lightning fell on the clouds and spread out in all directions. "What?" Enel was stunned and said incredulously, "How can you master thunder and lightning?" He. Lei Gong ha isho, said, "I am the light master, the master of thunder in the world. Your Guro no Mi rumble fruit, among many logia, is considered one of the best abilities, but unfortunately, you have encountered I am a divine beast. It can be said that I am the incarnation of thunder. Even if I am hit by natural lightning, there will be no harm, not to mention your attack." Enel was shocked and his eyes flickered. "The majesty of God is absolute, a blasphemer like you should be purified." As soon as the voice fell, his right palm released tens of millions of volts of high-voltage electricity, and the going long stick was quickly transformed into a trident under the transformation of the power of lightning. "Lei metallurgy, my thunder and lightning are more than the level of discharge. You can be immune to lightning, but absolutely not immune to physical damage. Yeah, haha, I can hear your muscles breathing." As he said that, he swung his halberd and stabbed it suddenly. Thunder fell on the soles of Lei Gong's feet, predicting the opponent's attacking route, and his body moved as if he was dodging on one side. Then he kicked his hind feet, opened his fangs, and suddenly pounced on him. What a quick move! Enel was shocked. My heart net can read his movements, but can't keep up with his speed. Seeing Lei Gong pounce on him, Enel made a decisive decision, and the whole person turned into an electronic fluid, which disappeared in a flash. "Yeah ha, no matter how fast you are, you can't keep up with the speed of thunder and lightning." Smug laugh, Enel condensed his body behind Lei Gong, and at the same time, the going halberd in his hand stabbed out again. "God fast." Lei Gong spoke in a low tone, and in an instant, the purple thundercloud on his back emitted electric light, stimulating his body and stimulating his potential. In the next moment, he was like a lightning bolt, instantly avoiding the attack of the trident. Impossible! How is this reaction speed possible? Enel, eyes widened, full of disbelief. He has been living on Sky Island for a long time, sitting on the throne of God, and rarely fights with people, especially against real powerhouses, which is even more rare. Now facing Lei Gong's speed, it can be said that his jaw dropped. This is simply faster than the human eye. The human eye can never keep up with this speed. Even if it is HeartNet, it can only barely capture the trajectory. At this moment, Enel had forgotten Saint Angela. He just wanted to kill this Thunder Tiger. The Thunder Lord was too much of a threat to him. However, his momentary distraction was seized by Lei Gong. Lei Gong, who had pulled away a distance of several tens of meters, suddenly exploded with extraordinary speed, like a thunderlight near the ground, directly impacting Enel's back. Boom! With a muffled sound, Enel turned into a cannonball and flew straight ahead. The moment he was hit, his consciousness became blurred for a moment, and a frightening thought appeared in his mind. How could he hit me? I am the body of thunder and lightning. A bang! Enel, with this doubt, directly broke through the gate of the temple and flew into the interior of the temple. The next moment, Lei Gong quickly rushed into it, chasing after him. He directly pounced on Enel, pressing his 4 feet on each other's hands and feet, a tiger's mouth, close to the opponent's neck, and a roar sounded from his mouth. Frog at the bottom of the well. Even armament hockey doesn't know, and has the face to call God. Looking at this face so close at hand, Enel's fear grew stronger. His biggest reliance, the body of thunder and lightning, is useless. A combat power like you, in the New World waters, is at most a 500 million pirate. 193 is really a waste of money. Guro Guro no mi, rumble rumble fruit, such a powerful ability, fell on your kind of fighting technique on a rookie. Quote. With a mocking sentence, Lei Gong roared. Roar. A loud roar shook the entire temple. Behind Lei Gong, the manic power of thunder and lightning condensed the phantom of a roaring tiger, and its open fangs seemed to swallow people in one bite. Ah! Enel let out a scream, so frightened that the snot came out of her nose. His eyes were white, and he was directly stunned. At the same time, above the sky, in the thick sea of clouds, Qin Yang chased Angela, a luffy gallop. The two chased and fled, and quickly climbed the height. Suddenly, Qin Yang broke through a thick layer of clouds and saw a scene that surprised him. In front of me, I saw a divine tree dozens of meters high, growing above the white clouds. The god branches and leaves offended, as if welcoming guests, shaking branches and leaves in vivi. Under the tree of gods, Angel stood respectfully, clasping her hands together, and muttering in her mouth. The tree of omniscience, under the pursuit of the archangel, can I survive? After speaking, a green leaf fell. Angel quickly grabbed it and swallowed it. The next moment, in her mind, an answer sounded. There is no way to escape, there is no doubt of death. In an instant, Angel's face was pale and earthy. Chapter 0353_Fallen Kingdom. There is no way to escape, there is no doubt of death. The answer given by the Tree of Omniscience made Angel's complexion as pale as paper. The Tree of Omniscience knows all the truths in the world. As long as you devoutly raise your doubts and swallow the leaves of answers it drops, you will understand the results in your heart. Its accuracy rate is 100%, at least Angel has not encountered the time when this divine tree answered the wrong answer. In other words, she is dead today. Thinking of this, Angel was stiff, standing under the Tree of Omniscience with a dazed expression. Qin Yang approached slowly, but he ignored Angel and locked onto the divine tree. Interestingly, Fishman Island, 10,000 meters under the sea, has a sun tree, Eve, and the kingdom of God 10,000 meters in the sky also has a god tree, Omniscient. Qin Yang said with great interest. In addition to these two trees, there is also a treasure tree, Adam, and there may even be a demon tree that exists somewhere in the world. Still many strange trees in this world. Thinking of this, Qin Yang looked at Angel and said, "Bring me here, are you not going to run? The Tree of Gods said that I'm dead today, and it can't go wrong. So there's no point in running away." Angel regained his calm and sighed, "People are greedy and greedy." At the beginning, they were curious about ancient weapons, so they let Rick and the others participate in the auction. "I didn't expect to have such consequences today." Hearing this, Chin-Yong couldn't help but say, "You are very open-minded in the face of death." "Dream," Angel whispered. "You are outsiders, the God Tree knows everything in the world, even he doesn't know who you are. You can only be outsiders, from other planets, or from other worlds. Should I call you, aliens, or, otherworlders?" He. Chin-Yong laughed suddenly. He walked up to Angel, but instead of answering, he spoke out loud. "I want to know, where is the Earth?" As soon as the words fell, a leaf of the Tree of Omniscience fell, and Chin-Yong followed suit and put the leaf in his mouth. The next moment, the answer came to mind. "I don't know." Shenshu's answer is straightforward. Angel was stunned. "How could you have no piety at all, and the divine tree will give you the answer?" "It's afraid I'll cut him off." Chin-Yong shook his head. "This tree has human nature. It's really amazing, but unfortunately it doesn't have the answer I want. It's better to absorb it." Omniscient was probably just given to it by Angel without authorization. Although this divine tree is strange, it is far from omniscient. Thinking of this, Chin-Yong pointed his sword at Angel's neck. "Are you planting yourself, or I'll send you on your way?" The sword of light pressed on his shoulders. Angel's body trembled slightly, and he took a deep breath. "Archangel, I am Zone Mythical, human fruit model. Angel, its basic ability is, Angel's Light." As soon as the voice fell, Angela suddenly withdrew, and flew into the air to emit a sacred radiance. I under the light of angels, everyone will have a heart of faith and be brainwashed into believers. The selection of the gods once a month is this kind of ceremony. Angeli uses this method to expand the combat power of the army of the gods. However, this angelic light, after touching Chin-Yong, easily penetrated his body. Angel was stunned, and the angel's light dissipated immediately. Why doesn't it work? Of course it doesn't work. What is an angel, do you know? An angel is a spirit, a body of light. Your tricks are meaningless except to warm my body. Chin-Yang's sword pointed at the opponent. The sword of holy light was full of sacredness, and a chilling meaning slowly overflowed. This is Shengguang's way of destroying the enemy. In an instant, the sword of holy light in Chin-Yang's hand suddenly swelled. It radiated 1,000 feet of light, and the holy brilliance was full of killing intent. The sword was cut out and turned into a divine light that traverses the sky. Holy judgment. Boom. The world turned into a vast expanse of white, and Angel was floating in the air. Her body was swallowed by divine light, which was melting her body and purifying her soul. In consciousness, the world is divided into two. One is the sacred heaven and the other is the endless hell. She's somewhere in between, mortal. She is not an angel, and when she realizes this, she chooses to choose. After a long time, the divine light that cut across the sky dissipated, and Angel had disappeared. Suicide. Chin-Yong was stunned and couldn't help shaking his head. It's a pity that I deliberately left a chance to survive, but I actually chose to commit suicide. The divine verdict is powerful, and it directly points to the heart, the choice between heaven and hell. Once you choose the wrong one, you will die. Even if you choose the right one, the soul and body will be purified and become the captive of the archangel. Since it's dead, then forget it. After dispersing the sword of holy light, Chin-Yong looked at the tree of omniscience again. You are more amazing, I will not kill you for the time being. But the kingdom of God is still destroyed. After he finished speaking, he shuddered and swooped down. After a while, he descended over the sky of Sky Island. Cloud of light. In a whisper, suddenly, above the kingdom of God, the huge power of holy light turned into a thick cloud. Incomparably holy, the six-winged archangel opened his arms and completely liberated his own power. Boom. The cloud of holy light, the essence of the huge detour, enveloped the whole island, and this scene can be seen even in the blue sea, which is 10,000 meters below. Even the people below can see the shadow of a kingdom of God reflected on the clouds. Sir, in the lower levels of the kingdom of God, countless gods raised their heads and made devout prayers. False kingdom of God. Qinyang ignored these unowned beliefs, and when he thought about it, the cloud of holy light rolled over, cracking open, and a huge holy spear slowly protruded from it. Shengguang Chengqiang. Whoosh. This 100-meter-long Cheng suddenly shot out from the cloud of holy light. It easily penetrated the upper shrine, and then like a broken bamboo, it directly broke through the middle space, and finally landed in the lower area. Immediately afterwards, there was a huge explosion that swept the entire Sky Island. The wind and waves set off by this blow reversed and blew away countless white cloud buildings, and the Beibei, which supported the floating island, was hit by a huge hole under this blow. Boom boom boom. The entire Sky Island Divine Kingdom is slowly falling from the opening of Beibei toward the bottom. Above the clouds above the blue sea, a mythical scene is reflected. Sky Island, which came from an altitude of 10,000 meters, fell into the sea in the shattering. At this moment, somewhere in the sea on the Great Route, a small pirate ship is sailing on the head of a giant tortoise. The pirate ship is more than 20 meters long, but this length is not as long as an eye of a giant tortoise. And this giant tortoise was as small as an ant compared to the shadow of the Sky Island that was reflected in the sky. What is this? Zoro stared blankly at the sky. Sky Island, falling. Sanji had a bad premonition, and this premonition soon came true. Only Captain Luffy shouted excitedly, "It's Sky Island. Fantastic adventure." As soon as the voice fell, a huge wind noise came, and a real Sky Island Divine Kingdom broke through the clouds and descended. Run! Nami was so frightened that she hurriedly shouted. At the same time, above the 10,000-meter sky, Qinyang flapped his wings and watched this scene quietly. God people, God soldiers, priests, God generals, angels, the strict hierarchy of Sky Island, I just killed the angel and shot down the island. As for the next life and death, I don't care about it. He island there should still be marine on the board, I don't know how to report to the headquarters. Qinyang smiled, moved and left quickly. The next day, a news hit the headlines and spread around the world. Sky Island is down. On the news, a photo was posted, shaking the world. Chapter 0354_Phantom Creation. Second update The network is disconnected, and it is only now. The update is a little late, sorry. Next day, a photo of Sky Island falling shook the world. The headline, Sky Island Falls, is very eye-catching, and its content is full of dry goods. Judging from the photos, the falling island should have been shot down, which is even more terrifying. Who did it? It couldn't have been the island itself that suddenly fell. Sky Island Divine Kingdom, isn't that a religious force that believes in the Tree of Omniscience? The person who can take down the entire Sky Island is one of the 4 emperors. Countless discussions resounded all over the world, and the spearheads were aimed at the 4 emperors of the New World. Although the place where Sky Island fell was in the first half of the Great Route, near the waters of Mocktown. But there are not many masters who can do this kind of thing. Looking around, the 4 emperors are more suitable. New World, a quiet and peaceful island. In a church, the former Marine Admiral Kuzan stood in front of the priest, praying lazily. The priest was a middle-aged man with a cross hanging on his chest. He was not holding scriptures, but a newspaper. Looking at the headlines on it, he was fascinated. After a while, he sighed, I should have known, since the dream comes back, they will definitely go to the kingdom of God. It's their style to do things as soon as they come back. Kuzan didn't continue to pretend, he directly found a bench and sat down, crossed Erlang's legs, and said, however, I'm no longer marine, it's not my turn to have a headache. Angel seems to be more fortunate than fortune, and the kingdom of God is over, but there should be survivors. Priest was praying, and after a while, he said, Kuzan, I'm going to Sky Island to find survivors. Next, you don't have to stay here. This, Kuzan stretched his back. Last time you persuaded me not to interfere in the dream, so now you're sending it up yourself. That's exactly what I'm saying. I need you to go to the dreamer, contact their captain, or vice captain, or the master cadre, and invite him here. What do you want to do? Kuzan frowned. The priest didn't answer. He walked to a hanger, took out a trench coat and put it on himself, then walked outside the church. You go. Remember not to conflict. The priest leaves soon. Kuzan scratched his head and breathed lightly. As soon as I came back, the world started to turmoil. It's a really troublesome organization. Saying that, he slowly got up, walked outside the church, got on his bicycle, and drove towards the sea outside the island. If you're looking for them, are you looking for Doflamingo directly? New World, Mysteria. In the quiet room, Chin-Yong sat on the sand, also reading today's newspapers. Pipe. After a while, he threw the newspaper aside, then waved his hand, tore apart the space, and took out a box of devil fruits from the shadow world. Marine didn't have any response and didn't have time to pay attention to this kind of thing. He was busy recruiting troops in the world and expanding his combat power. Chin-Yong thought about it, and suddenly had an idea. I am an enemy, and it is unreasonable not to do damage. However, before that, upgrade the Phantom God to a 6-star level. Chin-Yong currently has 14 Phantoms. 5 stars, Sea Dragon, Shadow Demon, Lich King, Gilgamesh. 4 stars, Grim Reaper Aizen Kuyusuk. 3 stars, Nine-Tailed Demon Fox, Night King, Holy Archangel, Fearful Demon King, Space-Time Fish, Thunder God. 2 stars, Ibaraki, Doji, Uchiha Itachi, Desert Emperor Azir. Only Aizen is the only 4-star star. Since the star of the main body illusionary god is to be upgraded, the first choice must be the god of death. Of course, in addition to the god of death, an illusion body needs to be upgraded to a 5-star level. Chin-Yong felt that it could be an archangel. Let's raise Aizen to a full star first. Thinking of this, Chin-Yong immediately started. 4-star Reaper upgrade to 5-star requires 30 fruits. Now Chin-Yong has a lot of money and doesn't care at all. Directly absorbing the 30 fruits in the box, a huge mysterious power poured into the body, quickly pushing Aizen's star to the top. 10th change, Grim Reaper Aizen Kuyusuk. Star rating. Ability 1. Zanpakudo Kyoka Suzuki. Ability 2. Ghost Road. Ability 3. Shunbu. Ability 4. Collapsing Jade. Ability 5. Fusion. A quarter of an hour later, Chin-Yong opened his eyes. Aizen has been upgraded to a 5-star level. First, Bengyu has reached the complete body. Second, the spiritual pressure has reached the limit of the god of death, which is already a full value state. In addition, it is ability 5, Fusion. This fusion refers to the fusion with Bengyu, completely becoming the master of Bengyu, and opening the road of infinite evolution. Break through the boundaries of the god of death and enter a higher dimension. After a little hesitation, Chin-Yong was not in a hurry to integrate. Anyway, he could do it at any time, not in a hurry. Compared to this, he is more concerned about the changes in his body. Thinking of this, Chin-Yong immersed his consciousness into his body. 0 change, Illusory God Chin-Yong. Star rating. Ability 1, Phantom Manipulation. Ability 2, Delusional Obliteration. Ability 3, Illusions are manifested. Ability 4, Illusion comes. Ability 5, Illusory World Creation. Illusion World Creation. Chin-Yong was surprised, and after feeling this ability, he couldn't help but mutter, "This is the direct creation of a world, which is completely different from the shadow world of Shadow Demon." The shadow world of the Shadow Demon is a small world, a very small space, mainly used for hiding and storing things. But the creation of the Phantom God is different. This is a big world. All the rules are exactly the same as the real world. It has its own stable laws. There are sun, land, trees, oceans, stars, gecko. Not only that, the illusory world has a basic function, but any phantom body can be directly manifested in the illusory world without being constrained by star ratings. That is to say, in the illusion world, Chin Yang can get all the illusion bodies out, whether it is 14 or 140, no problem. I have already thought about it before. The fantasy has always lacked a base camp, and this fantasy world can be built as a base camp. An organization without a stronghold is always inappropriate. Mysteria can only be described as a dream office in this world, with Doflamingo and Robin presiding over the day-to-day work. Therefore, Dream really needs a headquarters of its own. I have to see first, what kind of place is the illusion world? Thinking of this, Chin Yang's thoughts moved, and the body directly shuttled through space, becoming transparent and void. The next moment, the light and shadow in front of him changed. What appeared in front of him was a picturesque and beautiful world. The mild sunlight shines on the earth, and his location is a hillside with faint green grass. Looking from the hillside, there is a lake in front of him, and the fragrance of birds and flowers is picturesque. This is a fantasy world. Chapter 0355-1 Way Pass LV5. This is a fantasy world. Chin Yang stood on the green grass hillside, looking at the world in front of him. The breeze is blowing, the grass is green, the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant, and the flying insects are walking, beasts. Between the mountains and forests, the beautiful scroll unfolds slowly, full of poetry. The sun in the sky is as warm as fire, and the air is as refreshing as autumn. In this world, the whole person will be lazy. Standing here, Chin Yang's mood gradually calmed down, and he really wanted to lie down, sleep peacefully, and enjoy this quiet, uncontested peace. In front of the hillside is a forest, and past the forest is a deep blue sea. Chin Yang turned his head and looked behind him. Behind him was a mountain. On the towering peaks, wild beasts could be seen rushing towards him. On the other side of the mountain is the plain. What a peaceful world. Chin Yang sensed the release, and it spread, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, 10,000 meters in an instant. He had already explored the whole world. He is an illusory god, the lord of the illusory realm, who can see through this world with a single thought. It's not that big, that is, the size of an island. Beyond the land, there is an endless ocean. This ocean is wider than the entire planet in Pirate World. It was like there was a grain of sand in a lake, and Chin Yang was now on this grain of sand. Need me to build the world myself? Chin Yang thought for a while, and immediately said, Huan, is that so? Yes. Fantasy Jean's voice sounded in his mind. You are the master of this world, you have absolute control over this world, and you can naturally build it at will. However, this world needs to absorb certain powers in order to evolve into a big world. A specific power, Chin Yang asked. The origin of the world. Take the blue star of the pirate world as an example, it is the origin of the planet. Fantasy Jean said, the current fantasy world is just a baby. You can also feel that this world, 99.9% of the area, is seawater. After a pause, he said again, also, if you want to raise the phantom god to a 6-star level, in addition to the original conditions, you must let the phantom world evolve. Is that so? Chin Yang was noncommittal. Illusory world is just a base camp for me. Apart from this, what use is there? Illusory world is the mother's womb of the illusory god. You should also feel that even if you are in the outside world and your body dies, as long as the illusory world is still alive, you can give birth to resurrection again. As long as the illusory world does not die, you will not truly die. Of course, this refers to the main body phantom god, not the phantom body. That's it, as expected of a 5-star ability. Chin Yang nodded and understood. He is now invincible, but this invincibility means that in the pirate world, if you switch to another world, such as Marvel, Hongwong, or even Dragon Ball, his combat power is nothing. So, thinking about it this way, the fantasy world is really good. If I want to upgrade the 6-star illusory god, I must first perfect the illusory realm, and to perfect the illusory realm, I need to absorb the origin of the pirate world. This origin is probably the mystery of the devil fruit. Qinyang has several ideas about how the devil fruit came to be. First, go ask the tree of omniscience, but it is estimated that you will not get an answer. That divine tree has limited knowledge. Second, ask Marine, or the world government, as the current ruler, should have relevant information. Third, think of a way to resurrect One Piece, King of Pirates Roger, he may have some information. Fourth, to the final island of the Great Root, Rahudal, where the secrets of this world must be hidden. It's okay to revive Roger, I'm not that big right now. As for going to Rahudal, you have to collect 4 red stones, otherwise it will be difficult to find a place, and it will be a little troublesome. The easiest thing is to ask the Tree of Omniscience. However, there should be no results, and it is the most appropriate to ask Marine. Quote. After thinking about it, Qinyang decided to do it at the same time. Sent Doflamingo to deal with the Tree of Omniscience, and go to Marine himself. It's been more than half a month since I came to the world. 9 years later, it's time to meet Marine. However, let's start a new transformation first. Thinking of this, Qinyang thought about it. Immediately, 13 rays of light were projected in front of his Shang, and then, one after another, phantom bodies appeared one after another. Sea Dragon, Shadow Demon, Ibaraki, Nine Tails, Lich King, King of Knights, Itachi Uchiha, Archangel, Great Demon King, Aizen, Azir, Shining Gold, Raiko. Except for the time-space fish who went to find the new world, all the illusions appeared at this moment. Fantasy family, counting the main body, there are only 15 people, which is too few. Qinyang chuckled, immediately took out a box of fruits, and said to himself, welcome to the new members. As soon as the words fell, he immediately absorbed 20 fruits. Body has reached 5 stars, and the consumption required to start a new transformation is also greater, at least 15, but, in order to have a 3-star transformation from the beginning, Qinyang decisively consumes 20, so the probability is higher. A huge mysterious force poured into the body, and the next moment, his appearance changed. First of all, his height dropped from over 1.8 meters to 1.68 meters, and his appearance changed from his early 20s to 16 or 17. The gender is still male, and the race is human. This time the change is only 3 minutes, and everything has been completed. Qinyang touched his face and was speechless for a while. What is this rare human transformation? Feedback of information in the mind. 15th change. One-side access. Star rating. Ability 1. Vector Control LV1. Ability 2. Vector Control LV3. Ability 3. Vector Control LV5. Ability 4. Unlocked. Ability 5. Unlocked. It turned out to be a superpower. Qinyang was stunned. Accelerator. This transformation, I am afraid that the combat power is even more than that of the Holy Archangel, and the only ones who can beat him are Lan Ran, Shadow Demon, and the Great Demon King. Terrible, it's only 3 stars. As the star of the main body gets higher, the new transformations that are opened each time become more and more terrifying. Qinyang said in amazement that he always felt that every time he started a new transformation, it was an exciting gamble, and no one knew what would happen. He is looking forward to seeing the top one among thousands of phantoms one day. Very well, since Accelerator is out, let's visit Marine in this capacity. Qinyang grinned Isho and left the illusion world immediately. After a lapse of 9 years, there are always new faces in the dream, so that people don't think that there are only those people in the dream. Thinking so, Qinyang returned to the world of pirates. When he opened his eyes, there was a knock on the door. Doflamingo's voice sounded. Lord Chindi, the former Marine Admiral, Kuzan called and said that he would come to visit. Kuzan. Qinyang raised his eyebrows. Come in. Hearing this, Doflamingo pushed in the door, looked up, and couldn't help but be startled. Who are you? Chapter 0356_Vector Manipulation LV5. Who are you? Doflamingo had a hellish expression on his face. This was Emperor Qin's room. Someone broke into it. If he annoyed Emperor Qin, how would it end? However, Doflamingo was not impulsive either. His brain was still there, and he could guess that the person in front of him should be a member of the dream. I am, Accelerator. Lord Qin Emperor has left temporarily. Qin Yang said casually. You said just now that Kuzan is coming to visit. Hearing this, Doflamingo murmured inwardly. One way. This is definitely not a name, it should be a title. Thinking of this, he looked at it quietly, and said at the same time, the call I received just now was from Shichibukai's contact number. He said that he would come to visit in the near future, so let us know first. Who? Lord Qin Emperor. Not available. Qin Yang waved his hand and refused. I'm a special commissioner, and I have a task to do. You can handle the matter here yourself. As for Lord Qin, you won't be able to see him in a short time. With that said, he got up and was about to leave. As the mission about Marine, Doflamingo said suddenly. Hearing this, Qin Yang paused and Vivi turned sideways. Huh. Don't get me wrong, I'm not spying on secrets, I'm just guessing. Doflamingo chuckled twice. For recently Marine has started a world conscription, which is undoubtedly for my dreams. So I think there should be some action in the organization. Quote. You have a good brain. But being clever in front of me, you obviously don't have enough awareness of your identity. Qin Yang grinned isho and walked towards the other party. You must have wondered in your heart just now, why did I call it Accelerator? Doflamingo's body tightened, and the next moment, he saw Qin Yang put a hand on his chest. What are you going to do? Doflamingo had a bad feeling. It's nothing, don't be nervous. Qin Yang's eyes were calm, and he said, the heart rate is much higher than normal, the blood flow is very fast, and the skin surface is fully charged after the evaluation. It is concluded that your body is very healthy. As he said that, Qin Yang's eyes narrowed, and in an instant, Doflamingo's complexion changed greatly. He only felt that his heartbeat suddenly stopped and his blood flowed backwards. PFF'd. Doflamingo fell to his knees and gasped in cold sweat. Just now what? The right amount of manipulation. Qin Yang pouted and said, I just changed the direction of your blood flow a little bit. I'm a special commissioner. You may not understand the special commissioner. To put it another way, my combat power is equivalent to the dominant cadre. Of course, Doflamingo did not know what a special commissioner was, but the master cadre understood it very well. And GT, what? He widened his eyes with a look of disbelief in his eyes. No matter how you look at it, the white-haired boy in front of him is only 15 or 16 years old, and he is just an ordinary person with a mortal body. But considering that the other party is a dream member, it will not be as simple as it looks on the surface, but Doflamingo never imagined that this is a terrifying role equivalent to the dominant cadre. What's so surprising? The so-called dominant cadres are just forget it. You are only a reserve member, and you are not qualified to understand this. Qin Yang waved his hand again. Seeing that he was about to leave, Doflamingo said quickly, wait, I should be able to provide a little help. Speaking, without waiting for Qin Yang's reply, he continued, Marine is currently recruiting in the world and has entered the final stage. The top players from all over the world have gathered at the Marine headquarters, and Marine has issued a Shichibukai summoning order in order to prevent the chaos in the scene. Quote. After finishing speaking, seeing that Qin Yang had already walked out of the room, he hurriedly chased after him. Wait, your mission should be to destroy the world and recruit soldiers. In that case, I can take you into Marineford. Although the old guy Sengoku didn't invite me, but I'm Shichibukai, I want to go in, they can't stop me. After listening, Qin Yang had no choice but to stop. Really? You are very active, so let's prepare the boat. For no problem. Doflamingo grinned and went to prepare immediately. Watching him leave, Qin Yang couldn't help shaking his head. In order to be promoted from a reserve member to a full-fledged member, this guy always seizes the slightest opportunity. Of course, Qin Yang doesn't care. Anyway, destroying the world and recruiting soldiers is also an incidental matter. The main purpose is to ask Marine about the devil fruit mystery. Half an hour later, Doflamingo was ready. A pirate ship departed from the port of Mysteria and headed towards the Red Soil continent. Generally, if pirates want to return to the first half of the New World, they must go to Fishman Island, but Shichibukai does not need it. There is a special passage provided by the world government. However, even so, it still took nearly a week to finally arrive at Marineford, the headquarters of Marine. At the same time, in the Marine headquarters building, in the Marshal's office, Sengoku listened to Admiral Fujitora's report in a deep voice. It's probably like this. The person who shot a week ago should be the Holy Archangel. Fujitora Isho said. It really is a dream. Sengoku's face was not very good. He was silent for a moment, and then asked, how is the recruitment of the world? Everything is going well. At present, there are about 100 folk masters gathered on the island. Only 100. Sengoku gritted his teeth. With this little combat power, it's impossible to compete with fantasy. One of them, an archangel, can easily destroy a Sky Island divine kingdom. This requires. At this point, suddenly, a laughter sounded. Archangel, Sengoku, I'll kill him for you, can you give me the throne of Marshal? Who? Sengoku flashed angrily and swept towards the window. There, the window was wide open, and a young boy with white hair was sitting there, looking at it playfully. It's just a folk expert who participated in the conscription, you don't need to be so vigilant. Qin Yang laughed. Folk masters shouldn't come to the headquarters building. Fujitora Isho suddenly shot, the staff and knife flashed, and there was a black slash, carrying an abnormal gravity, and hitting Qin Yang at 0.0. Gravity slash. Seeing this, Qin Yang did not dodge or evade, and directly reached out and grabbed it. Show off your gravity in front of vector manipulation, let's get your hands on an axe. While chatting and laughing, Qin Yang grabbed the black slash with one hand. Sengoku's face was startled, there are such people among the folk masters. However, the next moment, his complexion changed drastically. Reflection. Struck back at Fujitora in the opposite direction. Boom. With a loud bang, the entire marshal's office was beaten to smithereens. Soon, a group of soldiers rushed in. Marshal Sengoku, Fujitora Admiral. Everyone looked at the white-haired boy on the window and took a deep breath. Who is so courageous? The trouble has come to the marshal's office of the headquarters. Crazy. Chapter 0357_Headquarters World Conscription. Madman. Everyone looked at the white-haired boy sitting by the window and took a deep breath. Trouble in the marshal's office in the headquarters building, is this not a lunatic? Who are you? Admiral Fujitora opened his eyes, revealing the whites of his eyes. During his observation Haki's investigation, the aura emanating from the other party was no different from ordinary people. It is the physique of an ordinary person, but can an ordinary person grab his gravity slash with his bare hands? Impossible, let alone that the other party returned his slash as it was. It is too ridiculous to say that he is a folk master. Don't you believe it? Qin Yang crossed Erlang's legs and looked at the Marines calmly. I know you, your real name is Isho, before you became Marine Admiral, you were just a folk swordsman. What right do you have to question me? This, Fujitora Isho said. All the folk masters who came to the headquarters are registered in the roster, I don't remember anyone like you. This world recruitment was done in a hurry, but I am in charge of all the processes. The folk selectors in this department have all passed the initial assessment. But you are different, you just appeared out of nowhere. Quote. So it is. Qin Yang smiled suddenly, that's easy, just register it for me now. I just want to play with the title of Marshal Marine. Of course, this is just a joke, he has no interest in making a phantom become Marine. Fujitora heard this, Vivi frowned. Registration information, that's fine. With that, He turned to look at Sengoku, even though he couldn't see it. Sengoku took a deep breath, snorted coldly, and said, "What a nonsense. If you ruin this place, I won't bother with you. Since you want to register information, I'll ask you. What's your name?" One way. Sengoku was at a loss for words, and then said, "My real name. I have long forgotten my real name. I only know that it is a 2-character surname and a 3-character first name." Chin-young grinned. "This kind of thing doesn't matter at all. You recruit soldiers, you just want a powerful expert, not a sorority. You need to know what the other party is called." Seeing this, Sengoku showed blue veins on his forehead and was extremely annoyed. If it weren't for the fact that this person was indeed strong in combat, he would have wanted to be arrested and put in jail. The reason why they don't do this now is mainly because of conscription. Arresting the conscription target and spreading it out will damage Marine's reputation. Thinking of this, Sengoku suddenly let out a long breath, waved his hand, and let a group of soldiers retreat. "Accelerator, tell me your gender, age, birthplace, fighting style, and specialty you are good at." Seeing that he was not angry, Chin-young felt very sorry. He was expecting Sengoku to fight him, so that he could publicize that Marine was using martial arts against the folks, and the matter would be a big one. However, Sengoku was able to endure, and it was within Chin-young's expectation. After all, the other party has always been doing things like this, very stable and very enduring. Male, 16 years old, born in Academy Park City, is a level 5 superpower, good at vector manipulation. Academy City. Superpowers. Sengoku and Fujitora were both startled. Whereas Academy City, you can investigate by yourself. The superpowers mean, superpowers, ha ha ha, how are you, satisfied? Chin-young laughed loudly. Vector manipulation is the name of the ability that knocked back my slash just now. Fujitora said suddenly, "This fruit ability should be paramesha, so I'll just register it." "It's up to you. It doesn't matter how you register. Anyway, as long as I kill all the other so-called folk masters who came to apply, you can only hire me. If you can do it, you can try." Sengoku said solemnly. "Someone, take him to the guest room." Vice Admiral walked in from outside. Vice Admiral is a woman with a sexy body. It is Momoshiki Vice Admiral. "Boy, come with me." Momoshiki gestured to Chin-young with his eyes. Hearing this, Chin-young jumped lightly, jumped out of the window, and followed. "Miss, you call me darling, I might be happier." This, Momoshiki rolled his eyes, didn't bother to pay attention, and silently led the way ahead. After the two left, Fujitora said, "The origin is unknown, but the strength should be very strong. Marshal, what do you think we should do?" "Leave him alone and let the intelligence department investigate the identity of this person. HMPH, maybe it's a spoiler sent by the pirates." Speaking of which, Sengoku paused, then asked, "Is Shichibukai here?" 5 people have already arrived. Fujitora said, "Hawkeye, Teoti, Tyrant, Seaman, and Heavenly Yaksha who just arrived." "Doflamingo is here too." Sengoku frowned. "What is this guy doing here?" Doflamingo's identity is rather special. It's not just as simple as Shichibukai. On the surface, there is peace between Marine and him. At least Marine can't do anything about him for a short time. But Doflamingo came forward without receiving the summoning order, and Sengoku always felt that he had a bad premonition. In particular, it is difficult to predict what will happen now that the dream has returned. "Keep an eye on him," Sengoku said solemnly. "Let the bear stare at him. If there is any change, stop it first and report it to me later." "No problem." Fujitora nodded, and at the same time couldn't help feeling that Shichibukai, an unreliable organization, should be abolished sooner. However, he currently does not have the ability to do this. And the Empress and Heavenly Eye have not come. "Go rush," Sengoku said with a headache. "Both of them are strong, and they need their strength just in case." "I see." Fujitora took the lead, shaking her head and turning to leave. At the same time, within the triangular current, a super-large pirate ship was slowly approaching the Gate of Justice under the impetus of the current. On the deck of this ship, a coquettish man with heavy makeup stood proudly, his right index finger and middle finger pressed his eye bags, and a strange smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Captain, what did you see, so happy?" a 283 fat man shouted. "Idiot, of course I saw an interesting picture." The man with heavy makeup snorted, "Accelerator, have you heard of this person?" "Huh, Accelerator, who?" "A man with very poor physique, but he can grab a Fujitora slash with his bare hands." Glamorous man's eyes flashed. This time the recruitment of the headquarters should be very interesting. Moreover, I heard that this recruitment, Marine chose to live broadcast in order to deter the pirates, ha ha ha. The big fat man was speechless, patted his stomach, and said to the crew on the side, "In half an hour, don't disturb the captain, his neurosis has started again." Not to mention the situation outside the door of justice. Chinyong followed Momosegi's footsteps and came to Marineford's town. There are hundreds of thousands of families of marine officers and soldiers living here, and it is a large town. On the north side of the town, in a relatively sparsely populated base, hundreds of folk masters gathered in a school field. With the arrival of Chinyong and Momosegi, the group of people turned their attention to the past. Here comes another little brat, who really regards joining the army as a hero's game. I bet he won't last 10 minutes before running back home crying. Ha ha ha, I bet 15 minutes, 100,000 Baileys. A group of folk masters are full of ridicule and banter. Chinyong raised his eyebrows and also showed a playful expression. Momosegi Vice Admiral, you say, I will kill them all, now what will happen? Chapter 0358, 8,000 Dao Force. I'll kill them all, now what happens? Chinyong opened his mouth playfully. This, Momosegi raised an eyebrow. I will be arrested on the charge of obstructing the recruitment of soldiers in the world. Chinyong didn't care about arrests, he just wanted to see what kind of folk masters would come to join the army. Looking at it at this moment, the level of the applicants is uneven, and the strength is very serious. The weaker ones are not even as good as tens of millions of pirates. However, among the top ones, there are some who are close to the admiral level. Just as he was thinking, a figure came over. Was wearing a hat and was thin. As he walked towards Chinyong and the two of them, he said, "Sand." Another newcomer. This, Momosegi nodded, and then said to Chinyong, "Next, he will arrange for you." After speaking, she turned to leave. "Don't look around, newcomer. I'm the examiner here, Nero, and I'm giving you a basic test now." The young examiner who claimed to be Nero grinned and said, "I will pay attention to you looking at how weak you are. As long as you can withstand my attack and persist for 10 minutes, you will be considered to have passed the basic assessment." Seeing this, Chinyong was expressionless and didn't say a word. Of course, this was only what he thought. From Nero's point of view, this newcomer was ignoring him. "It seems that you don't know who I am, and you haven't recognized the current situation." Eyes were cold and said, "Let me introduce you a little. In our marine, there is a special fighting technique called Rokushiki. Those who master this fighting technique can be called Superman, the elite of the elite, and I have mastered 4 of them." Noisy. Chinyong snorted softly and kicked hard. This sudden attack made Nero's anger flash, but he was so arrogant that he didn't bother to avoid it at all. However, the next moment, with a loud bang, Nero only felt that his chin was hit by a huge force, and his whole head suddenly fell into a blinded state, blank. What? He only had time to say a word, his body flew backwards upright, and with a bang, he passed directly through the school grounds and landed under the tall building behind. He passed out. The scene quieted down for a while, but the next moment, a dark shadow rushed out of the high-rise building. The man was fat, like a meatball, flew out from the balcony on the 2nd floor and landed directly in front of Chinyong. Baba, what a powerful blow, it killed Nero in one fell swoop. The green-haired fat man praised. Although this guy is only a rookie of our CP9, his Dao strength value is still good, 30 times the strength of an ordinary soldier. CP9, the government's special intelligence agency. Qinyang suddenly felt in his heart. No wonder he was called narrow, he always felt a little familiar. Just as I was thinking, on the balcony on the second floor, there were several figures rushing out. A total of 6 people appeared, 5 men and 1 woman, standing on the guardrails of the balcony, looking down at the candidates in the school grounds below. Fukuro, let's get started. The leader is wearing a coat, a black gentleman's top hat, and a dove on his shoulder. When speaking, the pigeon opened his mouth, but there was a human voice. Another man with a long nose also said seriously, "Indeed, the purpose of this conscription is to form a special combat unit, and there must be a certain fighting technique. You should test the Dao strength of this group of people first." "Bah, leave it to me." Fukuro patted his stomach, looked at Qinyang, and said, "Rookie, come first, kick me with your greatest strength. I will analyze your Dao strength based on the strength you kick." Value. Oh, Qinyang raised his eyebrows. It was the first time he heard such a request. "Are you sure? I don't care if I die." "Don't worry, I'm a Rokushiki proficient, with a Dao value of 800. Unless your Dao strength exceeds 4000, it's all within my test range." Fukuro froze for a while before saying, "Forgot to tell you. A trained soldier, with a gun, his threat level, or combat power, is 10 Dao force. 800 Dao force, is Superman, one man can slaughter an army of 1,000 men. So don't worry, just go ahead." He spoke, he patted his chest and his whole body bulged into a ball. Seeing this, Qinyang immediately moved his shoulders and said with great interest, "Then I'm here, please pay attention." As soon as the voice fell, he suddenly punched. This time, he didn't use any ability, just a blow of physical strength. Boom. Sound, his fist landed on Fukuro's chest, but he failed to knock him back. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned, even the CP9 members on the second floor balcony were dumbfounded. What's the situation? Didn't this guy knock Narrow out with just one kick? Narrow's Dao strength is over 300. Quote. Huh, by coincidence. Fukuro, what was the power value of the blow just now? This, Fukuro had a weird expression on his face. 5. The CP9 member in the training suit laughed. "Remember that scumbag, sir, he has a 9, right? It's the first time I've seen someone who is weaker than the officer." One more time. Fukuro scratched his head and said, "Hey, you don't need to keep your hands, just use all your strength. This is an assessment. Those with a Taoist value below 1000 will be eliminated immediately." 1000. Qinyang estimated that 1000 Dao strength, that is, the level of 30 million pirates, is simply not worth mentioning. However, this body, in the absence of ability, is really weak, lack of exercise, lack of qi and blood, maybe anemia. Shaking his head, Qinyang said, "I just warmed up just now, this time it's real, I'll say it again, don't blame me if you die. Chat, don't waste time, come on." Shouting, Fukuro took a deep breath and swelled into a ball again. Qinyang grinned isho, stepped forward abruptly, and at the same time kicked his back and swept away. Boom. Kick landed on Fukuro's abdomen, and in an instant, the fat ball quickly collapsed. Split second, Fukuro felt as if he was about to be kicked in two. PFF'd. He vomited blood and turned into a cannonball, smashing through the entire building at lightning speed. Boom. What? The man in the training suit was taken aback. Impossible, a kick that has no power. Fukuro. The only female member quickly chased after him. "I said, don't blame me if you die." Qinyang grinned and looked up at the other CP9 members. "It seems that fat guy can't test me, why don't you guys try it together?" Hearing this, no one spoke, but looked over with a solemn expression. After a while, the female member returned with Fukuro. However, the current Fukuro looks extremely miserable. His whole body was covered in blood, and he was dying, as if he would die at any time. Seeing this, Pigeon Man said indifferently, "What is the value of Dao strength?" 8. Fukuro opened his mouth and said in horror, "More than 8,000. After speaking, he tilted his head and completely fainted. And hearing this, everyone's pupils shrank suddenly. There are 8,000. Impossible. Soaring from 5 to 8,000 all at once. The man in the training suit couldn't accept it, and looked at the Pigeon Man. "Lucci, you only have 4,000. Do you believe this weak guy is twice as much as you?" Quote. "It's hard to understand, it's a kick with little power, but it has such surreal destructive power." 8,000. Qinyong thought calmly, the power of vector manipulation comes from computing power. If all the computing power is released, I can even stop the rotation of this planet for 5 minutes. Even in a normal state, the blow just now is only 3 to the extent that it is less than 1 part. That is to say, in a natural state, I do not deliberately release the calculation power. The power of a blow is about 25,000 Dao force value. 25,000 Dao power, maybe a stomp can destroy a town. Of course, this is just a conditioned reflex in a natural state, just like when a person goes for a morning run, they won't use the power to sprint 100 meters. As for the situation of full liberation, Qinyong is not easy to predict. After all, Dao strength value only refers to pure strength, destructive power. However, with only 8,000 Dao power, it scared the crowd into a trance. Above 500 is Superman. What is above 8,000? A monster. Is this thin guy a human? Chapter 0359 announce the return. The first update Filu's webpage has been unable to open in the morning. Other websites can be opened in seconds, and it can be fixed after changing browsers. Damn it. A monster with 8,000 Dao force value. This white-haired kid in front of you. The group of applicants who came here looked at Qinyong like a ghost. Compared with the terrifying kick, Accelerator's thin body was a huge contrast. CP9, Pigeon Man stared at Qinyong, and after a while, finally spoke. This time, it was no longer the dove on his shoulders, but himself. Name. Accelerator. Let's go together. With a Fukuro, you still want to test me? It's 100 years earlier. Qinyong grinned and provocatively said, "It's really not good. Let your Admiral class try it." I'm Rob Lucci, the captain of CP9 and the chief examiner of this assessment. Lucci said calmly, "The task given to me is to select members with abilities above me from the conscripts and form a special combat unit. Congratulations, you are qualified." Saying that, he jumped down from the balcony on the second floor. Following his movements, the pigeons on his shoulders chirped and flew away, with his coat in his mouth. Next, I will come to the assessment in person. Lucci looked at the other applicants and said grimly, "There are still 303,106 people left, let's go together." As soon as the voice fell, his body suddenly changed. An instant, Lucci turned into a bipedal leopard, with a tail flicking gently. The next moment, the figure suddenly disappeared, and when he appeared again, he had already rushed into the crowd. Seeing this, Qinyong wondered whether he would join the melee and teach this guy a little lesson. Just as he was about to make a move, another man with a long nose jumped off the second floor. The old man is Kaku. In human form, Lucci's Dao value is 4,000. After turning on the transformation, it can reach more than 5,500. Quote. Huh. So, the people selected this time must have a Dao value of 6,000. Kaku laughed and said, "You are the first qualified person, congratulations." Isn't it 1,000? Qinyong raised his eyebrows. The standard of 1,000 Dao strength is only the first assessment. In the future, you can enter Marine and become an elite Marine. If you want to enter the Special Operations Unit, you must be above 6,000. Kaku seemed to be very idle and deliberately chatted with Qinyong. The main purpose of this unit is to deal with the Dream Pirates. You seem to be only 16 or 17 years old, and you have probably never heard of Dream. Only 7 or 8 years old. Why haven't I heard of it? I am the dream you said. Chin Yang couldn't help issue, really. But I have heard, not only heard, but also very clear. It's not that I look down on you, just relying on this group of rabble, and want to deal with the dream. Just come to a dominant cadre, you can put it down. Kill this group of people. Hearing this, Kaku's face froze, and he smiled dryly. This is only the first batch, and there will be many more applicants coming. So it is. Chin Yang nodded and said to himself, it seems that it is not easy to destroy the conscription. Even if I kill all the people here now, Marine will not stop. Of course, this is not a big problem. Sabotaging the conscription is just a matter of the way. The main purpose is to ask Sengoku about the devil fruit mystery. However, Chin Yang was not in a hurry and just watched Rob Lucci's assessment for the time being. This person is in the form of zone cat, fruit and leopard. When fighting with hundreds of candidates, they all aim to assess Dao strength, so they will not fight, but will retreat at the touch of a button. After half an hour, the assessment will be over. 6 final qualifiers, including Chin Yang himself, there were 7 people. It's over. Rob Lucci retreated, and the pigeon dropped the cape and just put it on him. Kaku, you take them to the Garp Vice Admiral. The rest of the unqualified, Khalifa, take them to the Momanga Vice Admiral. Understood. Immediately, a group of people was divided into 2 groups and each left under the leadership of a CP9 member. While following the man with the long nose, Chin Yang observed the other 6 qualified candidates. First of all, the strength of these people must be above 6,000 Dao strength, and secondly, several of them should be able, and even 2 of them have combat power close to Admiral level. In the previous assessment, both parties were testing, but they did not exert their full strength. The combat power is indeed quite impressive, but if you want to deal with the dream, it's really a dream. Thinking like this, Chin Yang and his party soon came to a forest. In the woods, Garp Vice Admiral is teaching several seamen hockey. At this moment, seeing Chin Yang and others coming, he slowly opened his mouth and said, the first batch of qualified people. Yes, these people are handed over to you, and the detailed information is here. Kaku nodded and handed out a registration document. Garp took a few glances, raised his head and aimed at Chin Yang. The other 6 people's information is very clear. Your information is all a mystery. Who are you? He. Chin Yang chuckled and said, is this important? Of course, the old man is not too old, and he will put in spies from other forces. Garp issue, said, in our marine science unit, there is a set of lie detectors developed by Baker Punk. Your identity too suspicious to pass a polygraph. Quote. Hearing this, Chin Yang felt that the pretend game was probably impossible to play. I'm really cautious. I wanted to play with you, but forget it. This is just the first batch of recruits. Even if I destroy it, it doesn't seem to make any sense. The old god Chin Yang was there. Since that's the case, I'll just say it straight. I'm the Dream Commissioner, Accelerator. Dream. The other 6 qualified people were taken aback, and one of them even had a look of surprise. But Garp frowned, and the next moment, a punch came suddenly. I knew you were coming from nowhere. This punch was majestic and unreserved. It seemed that he was already prepared and ready to go, until Chin Yang himself admitted that he shot it outright. Seeing this, Chin Yang did not dodge and sneered. I know that since the assessment just now, you have been guarding against me, and even deliberately brought me to such a place. I am afraid that a net of heaven and earth has been set up around. Why not, together? Boom. Garp's punch bombarded Chin Yang's face. However, the next scene made everyone's expressions change drastically. With just a click, Garp's face twisted, and his right wrist was directly dislocated. He punched out, and all the power contained in it was bounced back. What? Garp stepped back in shock, and at the same time turned his right arm and took back his dislocated wrist. It really is a dream, a strange ability. He is expected of Garp. Even if you are old, you can get nearly 8,000 Dao strength with a casual punch. Clap one clap. Qinyang clapped his hands as if taking a walk in the courtyard, standing in the middle of the forest. Don't hide, come out, I admit that I am a member of the dream, but you still don't believe it. As soon as the voice fell, a swoosh sounded, and a series of figures appeared one after another, surrounding Qinyang. Sengoku, Fujitora, Akainu, 13 Vice Admiral, 6 Shichibukai, all in full. Even the previous CP9s came out one by one. You turned out to be a dreamer. Sengoku's face was ashen, and he gritted his teeth. Come here, what do you want to do? Do what? Qinyang looked sideways and grinned. It's been 9 years since we returned, and of course we have to announce to the world. Sengoku, your headquarters is already quite old, let me dismantle it for you. Chapter 0360 Blast the Marine Headquarters 1. Hollow Square. Oh, should April Fools say happy holidays. 2,333,333 close black lens bracket. Your headquarters is already old, let me demolish it for you. Qinyang grinned and said, facing the encirclement and suppression of many combat forces in the headquarters, his expression was still indifferent. HMPH, try it if you can. Sengoku snorted coldly and said, for the past 9 years, we have been making preparations to deal with your dreams. As he said that, he waved his hand violently and shouted, do it. At the same time, 3 kilometers away, the top floor of the headquarters building. A man in a suit was lying on the ground, driving a heavy sniper rifle, wearing a monocle in his left eye, looking at the sniper mirror on the muzzle through the lens, and finally locked on Qinyang's forehead. Superior. The wind speed is perfect, the angle is perfect. However, at this distance, can it really work? There is only one chance. The man's palms were sweating, and when he found the perfect moment, he suddenly pulled the trigger. Boom! A gunshot rang out, making people's eardrums hurt. The next moment, a seastone bullet shot out at a speed of more than 300 meters per second. This is a subsonic sniper rifle made by the great scientist Baker Punk. It is specially used to deal with powerful people. A sniper from a few kilometers away, even if it is a pirate of hundreds of millions, is not known in advance. It's easy to get caught. Armament hockey owned by the man was attached to this bullet, making it as destructive as a high-explosive bomb. The moment they heard the gunshots, several Marines' top combat power, including Sengoku, looked stunned, and they burst into a burst of vigor, shrouding Qinyang. In an instant, Qinyang felt his body sink, and his heart came to a clear understanding. Snipe me, naive. Boom. The spiral flying bullet pierced through the space, carrying a shock, and slammed into Qinyang's forehead. But the scene of blood splashing that everyone expected did not happen. The moment this bullet touched Qinyang's skin, all the kinetic energy it carried turned its direction in an instant. Whoosh! A few seconds later, the top floor of the headquarters building. Marine's top sniper, blown off his head by a bullet of his own. Impossible. When this idea was born in his heart, the man was shocked to find that his consciousness quickly became blurred, and a huge hole appeared in his forehead for a moment. With a bang, he fell into a pool of blood, unable to rest his eyes. What? Sengoku opened his mouth wide and said incredulously, when did you find out? First, the courage suppressed the opponent's perception and reaction nerves, and then the sniper was shot from a long distance, and the bullet also hit accurately. Everything was fine, but the result was that the sniper was killed in action. Observation hockey's feedback, the sniper's life breath has disappeared, and the dead can't die anymore. He. Qinyang put his hands in his pockets and couldn't help sneering. They've been preparing for 9 years, is this a kid's toy gun? Hearing this, Sengoku's face turned ashen. Sengoku said, calm down Sengoku, his ability is to reflect the opponent's attack. Physical attacks don't work, what about elemental attacks? Akainu snorted coldly, the magma rolled all over his body, and his raised right foot suddenly stepped on. Boom! In an instant, a raging fire ignited in the forest, and a stream of magma quickly spread away until Qin Yang's feet. In the next second, the magma from the ground exploded, and the high temperature of thousands of degrees seemed to be swallowing Qin Yang. Akainu, you just suffered from lack of culture. Qin Yang stood in the magma, his face as usual. I told you all, my ability is vector control, and heat is of course included in it. Saying that, Qin Yang waved his hand, and in an instant, the gust of wind raged, turning into a tornado and quickly wrapping Akainu inside. The wind speed is 100 meters per second, and it can tear the steel, so you can taste it. What is the concept of wind speed of 100 meters per second? To put it simply, the speed of a Category 12 hurricane is only about 35 meters per second, and even the legendary Category 17 hurricane is only 61 meters per second. 100 meters per second. That is the power that can raise a city to the ground in a short period of time. Almost in an instant, Akainu's body was torn apart by the tornado, and he fell into a vortex that was absolutely unstoppable, and could no longer condense his figure. His whole person turned into a magma fluid, mixed with a tornado, turned into a magma tornado, and ravaged the earth. Seeing this scene, everyone's pupils shrank and their expressions were shocked. Even at a distance of 100 meters, under the aftermath of this hurricane, you need to concentrate all your strength to resist. Monster! How can such a destructive power be contained in such a weak body? Who is going to stop it, or everyone will be doomed? This is the dream. A special commissioner also has this kind of combat power. The 6 qualified candidates, at this moment, have forgotten the purpose of joining the army, and just want to quickly escape from this ghost place. Sengoku was flabbergasted and furious. He shouted angrily, and the whole person radiated golden light. In an instant, the figure swelled rapidly, turning into a golden Buddha, concentrating all his strength, and slapped Qin Yang with a palm. One-way access. The golden light turned into an unintentional cover and enveloped Qin Yang. The next moment, an extremely strong impact suddenly bombarded from all directions. Ha ha ha, naive, I am a level 5 superpower user. This kind of shock is also within my reflex range. Qin Yang laughed out loud and let the attack fall. The moment this majestic impact touched Qin Yang, the directions of all the forces turned 180 degrees in unison, and then radiated in all directions. Just listening to a light drink, in an instant, the impact from Sengoku spread out with Qin Yang as the center. This dense forest, under the impact of the impact, turned into a flat ground in an instant, and all the trees and vegetation collapsed or even uprooted. And CP9, as well as Shichibukai and others, were all involved. No matter where they fled, they couldn't escape the coverage of the shock wave. PFF'd. Sengoku was wounded by his own attack and spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, the magma tornado suddenly expanded, from a small tornado at first, to a huge tornado linking the sky. This hurricane involves everything around it, and in every sentence and second, it grows bigger and bigger. Lava, hurricanes, trees, the earth, and even people were involved, and no one could escape. Only Qin Yang stood under the tornado and laughed. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that although I'm only a special commissioner, my combat power is still higher than that of the General Master cadres. Do you think the 10 masters are all I'm waiting for? No, the 10 masters, it's just us. It's just a small force in this world, the real power, you have not seen it yet. Quote.